And now, race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, 1960 Daytona 500 champion and member of the inaugural class of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Junior Johnson.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
And ready to roll. A pleasure to bring in the guys who will be calling the race all season long. Our friends, colleagues, and the best in the business. Our 10th year with the gang, NASCAR on Fox. Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip, and Mike Joy. Welcome again, guys. You ready to go?
Thanks, Chris. Let's get to it. The first Daytona 500 in 1959 had a photo finish so close that Bill France and a team of photojournalists took 3 days to declare Lee Petty the winner. Here on Thursday, the two qualifying races were each decided, Darrell, in the blink of an eye. Any chance that we'll see anything different today?
Oh, yeah, we're going to see the same thing today. It's just going to take a little bit longer. You know, we got to run 500 miles today, but I have never felt the energy. I've never felt the guys, everybody's so confident and so pumped up starting this new year. I've been down here a lot of times when everybody was kind of gloom and doom. Well, everybody's kind of like the day here. Bright, sunshiny future for us, and I'm excited about getting this thing started, man. The racing's been so good, I can't wait to get it going.
Well, one little wrinkle about Thursday's qualifying race, Larry, late in the race, Jimmy Johnson was the leader, had the chance to come in and get tires, stayed out. Everybody else got tires, but they couldn't beat him.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would go down that format today because we've got a different racetrack. I talked to a lot of the guys in the garage area. The sun is beating down already. Right now, this track is 30 degrees warmer than it was in practice yesterday, and we've had 2 races that's been run since these guys was last on the track. So I think when these guys hit pit road, it's going to be for a lot of adjustments, and also you're going to want 4 tires. But here's what I really think. We've been talking about going back to the roots. I think on that last lap, we may see the boys go back to their roots.
All right, let's have a look at our FedEx Understanding the Race for today.
What this is the averages of our last 9 Daytona 500s. The first caution normally comes out roughly around lap 29. The total number of cautions, average of 7 per race. The longest green flag run, 64 laps, but twice in those 9 races, it's been over 100 laps. And the green flag laps to the finish around 16 to 17 laps. In 2004, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the 500, we ran the last 120 laps under green, caution-free.
43 of America's best drivers have waited all winter to drop the green flag on the Great American Race. Let's have a look at the starting lineup for the 52nd annual Daytona 500. Starting out back, Michael Waltrip, who got in on his qualifying speed, as did Bobby Labonte, Joe Nemechek, Bill Elliott, Jeff Burton there. And these are drivers who race their way in or have top 35 owner points from 2009. A lot of experience deep in the field. Max Pappas is one of 4 rookies in this race, along with Michael McDowell, also starting his first 500. You'll see drivers that'll go to the rear. We'll explain that in a moment. Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski, not the best of friends. Are they starting in lucky row 13 together? They're teammates and best friends, Kenseth and Biffle. Jeff Gordon will have to go to the back before they drop the green flag. Rudeman, the winner at Charlotte last year. Ryan Newman, a past champion of the 500, and the Aussie Ambrose. The Rookie of the Year, Logano. A.J. Allmendinger late to the grid for an engine change. Martin Truex Jr. and Jamie McMurray in different rides for 2010. Elliott Sadler, Regan Smith's going to run the full season. Clint Boyer with past 500 runner-up Kurt Busch. Kurt's younger brother Kyle with one Paulo Montoya from Colombia. Tony Stewart and Kevin Harvick, good friends, but Harvick's won this race, Stewart hasn't. Jimmy Johnson and Casey Kane, the Gatorade 150 winners, and winning the front row by time trials, Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Let's dial up Casey Kane and see how he's doing. Casey Kane, it's a DW Fox Sports booth. You got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, I got you, Darrell.
Casey, I talked to a lot of people in the garage area. They say you're the man to beat today. How you feel? What's your opinion?
Well, I feel good. I think there's going to be about, I don't know, a few cars that are definitely really good all week long, and I think our Budweiser Ford's been one of them. So I've been anxious for the day. It's exciting to be here. We have a great crowd, and it should be a pretty intense race.
Yeah, you got enough Clydesdales in that Ford engine to get her done?
Yeah, this Ford engine's been strong, very strong all week. We'll see what happens. It's been good, though, and the car's handled awesome. It'll be handling today. There'll be some spread out times, and we just need to stay out of any issues and be there at the end. That's when you got to go for it.
Well, good luck and have a great day, and this Bud's for you.
All right, thank you.
There's the 2011 Mustang GT with the new 5.0 twin cam V8 and Richard Petty behind the wheel. At the Barrett-Jackson auction on Speed Channel in January, Phoenix collector Ron Pratt bid $300,000 with the proceeds going to juvenile diabetes research, and he'll own that pace car after today. Built Ford tough, and it's the first time since Richard Petty has been in a Ford at Daytona since this picture was taken during time trials for 1969. Richard had just won the season opener at Riverside, California, driving a Ford Torino Talladega. The new Mustang, built Ford tough, and boy, that's a slick, shifting, hot, accelerating car. I was joking with Richard yesterday. He's got to remember to turn left and come on pit road. You'll want to run that thing right to the flag.
He checked. He wanted to know how much fuel they put in it, too. He might want to stay out a few extra laps.
Let's get out of our NASCAR on Fox All-Star pit crew, beginning with Steve Burns.
Thank you very much, Mike Joy. Dale Earnhardt Jr. last year, the only one of the 4 Hendrick Motorsports drivers not to make NASCAR's version of the playoffs, the chase. Crew Chief Lance McGrew saying this week it is critically important to get out of the box strong here at the Daytona 500. Last second instructions, Lance McGrew told Dale Jr., be careful getting off pit road. It's very slick. Dick Berggren.
Well, Kyle Busch led the most laps in last year's Daytona 500, but he didn't win it. The year before, he led the most laps in the Daytona 500. Didn't win that one either. Moments ago, he told me he is going to play it very cool this year. Just going to take what the car will give him and nothing more. Kyle Busch starts at 7th. Not Yoakum.
Dick, Kurt Busch has seen so many exciting moments here in the Daytona 500. Unfortunately for his racing resume, he has finished second 3 different times, but he thinks today could be the Blue Deuce's day. What impressed him the most about his race car, it didn't matter if it was new tires or old tires. He could go anywhere. It was a rocket ship, and he thinks that could play into pit strategy near race's end. Krista?
Carl Edwards has 2 reasons to be a ball of nerves right now. His wife, Kate, is due to give birth to their first child in 4 days, and he's racing with an engine that hasn't had any practice. Carl is hoping both the motor and his wife can hold out till the end of this race.
You saw Carl acknowledge the flagman giving the 1 to go signal. The light is out atop the safety car.
Mike, down here already this week, Mark Martin has driven 635 miles, and Tony Stewart has already driven almost 900 miles, not counting today.
Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the front row. AmpUpThe88.com is the new destination for Junior Nation. Dale Jr. fans, join a live chat this Wednesday with Dale Jr. at 7 p.m. only at AmpUpThe88.com. Larry, you sit so low in these cars the driver cannot see any of the 4 fenders. How do you convince that driver to keep those 4 fenders intact today?
Well, we saw in the Gatorade Dual races when you knock just the slightest dent in one of those fenders or in a quarter panel behind the rear tires, it kills the aerodynamics. You've got to convince it, and I totally agree with Jeff Hammond in his keys. Number 1, trust that spotter and believe in that spotter. He's your second pair of eyes.
And it's sort of a sixth sense, Mike. You just know where those things are.
Today's race is 200 laps, 500 miles. The speed limit down pit road 55 miles an hour, and they'll have to pit just about every 100 miles for fuel, Sunoco race gas, and tires.
And I think they'll be wanting tires well before that. You see to the rear for the backup cars, the 24, the 31, and Michael Waltrip, the 51. Those were cars that were crashed in the dual races. 2 engine changes after practice yesterday, Carl Edwards and A.J. Allmendinger.
Start of a new season, Darrell, inside those 43 cars. butterflies?
Oh, yeah. I don't care how many times you've been coming down here. 25 times this is Mark Martin coming to take the green here today. You still get very, very nervous and very, very tense because you never know what's going to happen on these starts.
DW, like you said in the pre-race, I've never been on a team quite like our team. Our 10th year of NASCAR on Fox. We're going to be faster today than we've been here in years. Best advice I can give you, reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
I just want to get this thing started. I know it's going to be so much fun to watch and do. And here they come. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Your teammates are where you find them. Bump drafting will be very prevalent down that backstretch today, and Mark Martin has just gotten a punt and a push into the lead.
That was by his teammate Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car. Everybody wants to lead the first lap of the new season. It'll be worth 5 points. Who will lead it?
Ageless Mark Martin. In the number 5, Hendrick Chevrolet comes across the line with his teammate Jimmy Johnson looking out. That opens the door on the bottom for Kevin Harvick.
What was that commercial they used to about Mark? Crazy old man. Crazy old man is on the gas.
You know, they fanned out just a little bit at the start of that thing, but it didn't take them long to get bunched back up.
I already see something kind of odd though, and I think rather interesting. I believe there's a group of guys that maybe are going to lay back a little bit here in these opening laps because the opening laps of all the races we've had down here have been a little bit wild and crazy.
Martin will lead lap 2 from Jimmy Johnson. Kevin Harvick is there alongside Dale Jr. and right behind Harvick, Kyle Busch with Casey Kane, Tony Stewart, and Clint Boyer.
And Mike, Larry, unlike the other events here, you know, 150 milers or the Bud Shootout, we got a long way to go here. We got a long race to run. Don't push the issue right now. Give and take as much as you have to keep the fenders on it, like we said.
We know we've got a lot of pit stops to make on pit road.
If it's not right now, don't worry about it. We can help you. We'll fix it for you. Give your team a chance. Give your crew a chance.
Martin up to the high side to hold his lead.
Now, fans at home, I know every now and then we're going to be in the cars. You'll hear the engines. But the thing that the engine is so different this year is you can let out of the throttle, not hit the guy in front of you, and pick the throttle back up and keep going. You don't lose all that momentum like we have in the past. Let's see if we can hear that in the corner here. We're actually riding with Kyle Busch, and he never lets up, so that may not have been the right one.
Darryl, you've been talking all week long about the speeds going down into turn 3. You could see right there halfway down the back straightaway, well over 190 miles an hour, even in the middle of 3 and 4.
And for the lead, here comes Casey Kane, winner of his Gatorade dual race on Thursday that set the field for the 500. And Casey Kane will lead the 4th lap. No, he doesn't. Mark Martin right back by him.
Mark got that push on the high side by his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 and did not let Casey Kane lead that lap.
Well, here, that's the 4th lap of the race. Folks, at about 180, 200 laps, so you're going to see that same kind of run to the finish.
There will come a point when Martin wants to find out how his number 5 works back in traffic, but he's not ready to give up the point just yet.
Safest place to be right now is right out front. Nothing in your mirror, in your windshield.
Tony Stewart has moved up to 4th, ahead of Jimmy Johnson's 2nd car on the inside road.
And Mike, this is when the cars are at their very, very best. Right now, they're on new tires, full of fuel, pretty comfortable right now, even though you're too wide.
Steve Burns is in the pits of the defending Sprint Cup champ.
Mike, Chad Canals, Jimmy Johnson's crew chief on that 48, echoed Darrell Waltrip's comments this morning. He said, there's not going to be any riding around in the back for us. We are fastest up front. They led practice yesterday, ran just 12 laps. He said, we're going to be in the top 10 all day.
You know, guys, we've seen that a lot at Talladega Superspeedway because everybody's car drives good for all of the race. But the way this place is so rough and the cars get to handling bad, I'm just not sure running at the back is that good of a strategy.
Got to be in the way back.
Way back.
Yeah, because we've seen guys from, you know, back in the field get into wrecks because they couldn't miss what was happening in front of them.
Let's get down to the leaders pit. Matt Yoakum.
And Mark Martin echoed exactly what Larry Mack just said. He felt like from all that he's learned from the duels back to the Budweiser shootout last weekend, that if you get stuck in the back, unlike years past when you can drop to the back and ride, you cannot do that with this package. Much more difficult to try to work your way back to the front.
Thanks, Matt. Fastest lap of this young race so far as Kurt Busch pokes his nose out down low, and that blue deuce is the number 7, Robbie Gordon. He's up to 21st. Joey Logano inside challenging. The number 7 has the quickest lap of the race, 46.17. Jeff Gordon second fastest, then Keselowski.
That's 100. I think that's about 195 miles an hour, somewhere along in there.
Casey Kane now in the second row inside.
Got a smoker down in turn 1, guys.
Car spins and gets collected down off the banking between turns 1 and 2. Regan Smith is in it. Brad Keselowski and Keselowski's teammate, the 77 Sam Hornish, are all involved.
And I mean, Jeff Gordon in that 24 just squeaked by.
And you know, most of the wrecks we've seen down here have actually started mid-pack and back.
First caution of the day. Oh, Max Pappas from Como, Italy, his first 500. He's on the apron.
Another one.
And Sam Hornish, IndyCar star. There is Gordon. No apparent damage to the left side of his Chevy. And Regan Smith, the young driver from outside Syracuse, New York. Boris Said has his car torn up.
I don't know if it lost an engine or I'm not sure a tire or something happened. I looked over in the turn 1 there and the smoke. You see the smoke.
Right behind the yellow car is the number 12 of Keselowski. And you see him just get a little loose right there. Gets up into the wall, collects Smith and Hornish.
I believe that 12 car had something happen to it, like it may have lost a right rear tire or something. There's really no reason for it to step out like that.
So Roger Penske had 3 cars in this race, and that gets 2 of them, the 12 and the 77. There you see Gordon just squeaking by in that 24.
Remember, Carl Edwards is one of those who had to start this race at the back of the pack due to changes.
Right here in front of you. A lot of smoke. Slow it down. Slow it down.
And he goes to the apron to ride through this off the 31-degree banking.
There's one thing about a car here. It's going to go up the hill, it's going to go down the hill, and it just might go back up the hill. So you got to miss it twice if you try to go low.
Keselowski and Hornish have taken their cars to the garage. Some of the others have come to pit road for repair, like Max Pappas. And we're under the first caution of the day in Daytona, 8 laps in to the 200 that will make up today's race. Mike Bliss also got a piece of that one.
Yeah, he did. I saw the 36 car limp in there, Mike. He was torn up pretty good.
8 laps complete. A little early for pit stops there.
For the front runners, but there you see Casey Kane. He makes the commitment in the 9 car, and everyone else follows him down. Looks like Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Montoya stayed out in Krista.
Casey Kane says his car is loose all the way through. How are they going to fix it? By going a half round down on the left rear jack bolt. Dick.
Kyle Busch going to take 4 tires, no adjustment to the chassis on his race car.
Jimmy Johnson's team fitting 4 tires. Steve?
4 tires for Jimmy Johnson. Chassis adjustment adjustment as well, Mike. He said the majority of the time I was on the bottom, I couldn't get to the top. Matt.
And the two of Kurt Busch service already complete on his car. He was pretty pleased with the balance.
Most of the leaders came to pit road. We'll update the running order in a moment. Caution out at 10 laps at Daytona as you watch from our aerial coverage provided to you by DirecTV. DirecTV, it'll change your life. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Juan Montoya did not pit under that caution. Kevin Harvick did not pit. He did come on pit road to have his scoring transponder replaced, but that was a NASCAR official move. They gave him his position back. There's Jimmy Johnson, defending series champion, in 15th position in the 48, who started his racing career off-road in a Chevy truck. That's why he's excited to give you a chance to win powerful, dependable Chevy Silverado. Go to winjimmysilverado.com for your chance to win. Yesterday, the nationwide race and the Camping World Truck Race, total of 79 cars, 49 of which, more than half of the two total fields, caught up in accidents. We've now had the first one, and we now see Carl Edwards back in the pits. Krista?
Yeah, Mike, they had to clean off the grill. The water temperature was going way up, so they just came in to get some of that debris off the front end of the car.
And Mike, one thing I don't like about not pitting with everybody else, it's okay right now. We only run 8-10 laps here, but it puts me at a disadvantage if we go back green racing and we stay green for a while. These other guys we've seen 10 laps on tires does make a difference. So I would have liked to come down with everybody else at this point in the race. There's no time to really be gambling, I don't think.
There you see our weather, 54 degrees ambient. That track temperature is 79 degrees. I talked about that at the top of the show. That's about 30 degrees warmer than what we had in that final practice yesterday morning. Now, this is our first time NASCAR on Fox to have the double file restart, and Mark Martin's the leader, and he gets a choice, outside line or inside line, and he played around a lot with that in the Gatorade Dual Race on Thursday. He's elected to choose the inside line. Everyone else, the odd number of cars where they're running, is an inside, even numbers on the outside.
Most of the time, I'm going to look in my mirror. If I'm the leader, I'm going to look in my mirror and I'm going to say, who would I line up? Who would line up behind me? That's what I'd be looking at right now. That'd be the line I'd want to get in. And who is that behind him? Tony Stewart?
That's actually Montoya in the 42.
First time that a Ford Mustang has ever paced the Daytona 500, and the first Ford in front of the field in 40 years. Was a 1970 Ford Torino that last paced the 500 for the Blue Oval, and here we go. 12 laps complete this time by green flag. Mark Martin, Dale Jr. right up front, just like we started.
And you see that inside line, it's getting a pretty good push there. The momentum will come back as they get down here in turn one. Those cars that go high will get a little bit of a run onto the back straightaway that could help them. Nothing's going to help you if you jump out there like Mark Martin did. Man, he took off.
Juan Montoya, who has not been the least bit bashful about bump drafting all week here in Daytona, puts his number 42 out front.
Yeah, the bump draft in these cars really works well because you've got a flat nose against a flat rear bumper. And so you don't upset the car in front of you when you bump into it. You just give it a shove.
Well, boy, Dale Earnhardt Jr. jumped to the inside in that 88. Kevin Harvick in the 29 jumped down there, pushes Earnhardt Jr. to the lead.
Talked to Lance McGrew, Larry. He said, I'm telling you, DW. I said, you got him fixed up. He wasn't very good at a qualifier. He said, we got him right today. You watch.
For many years now, NASCAR's most popular driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., leads him around Daytona. Montoya gives him a foot or so. See if he comes down to pick up Harvick here. Steve?
Mike, when the caution came out, Dale Earnhardt Jr. told Lance McGrew, I don't think I gained much by pitting. He said the car's pretty good right now, a little bit loose. But to Darrell's point, he said if it doesn't get any looser.
normally if your car is drivable loose, that's okay. You're happy, and you can see. Look, he's got his hands. He doesn't. Remember that day we were watching? He had them hands way down there, all the way under, and touching his leg almost. Today, and watch how he does his right hand. A little bit confusing when you see how much grip or how much wheel he's got in, because he takes that right hand and slides it over the top of the wheel. Watch him as we get down here in the corner, but so far that car looks very comfortable.
Well, Darryl, you say it all the time. You can live with the little bit of loose as long as it's predictable and not doing two different things.
And normally a little bit of a loose car will tighten up, Larry. It burns off a little fuel, tires build up a little bit. So I think he's pretty happy with that car at this point.
Mark Martin has been stuck in the middle. Elliott Sadler in the 19 made the move underneath, and here comes Newman and Kenseth and everybody.
Clowns to the left of me and jokers to the right. Here I am.
Stuck in the middle without anybody.
Without anybody.
Back. And then he'll find a spot in line.
That's okay. You watch. This will be a good guy to watch. Although I'm not sure Mark will be in any hurry to get back up in the front. Once he gets in the back, he'll probably stay there. But let's see if he works his way back up to the front and how long it takes him.
Well, he was waiting for that spotter right above us to say clear outside or clear inside, and he jumps to the outside line there behind Robbie Gordon in the 7.
Big Dale Earnhardt, he used to do that. He'd fall in the back and you'd say, oh, he's junk. You don't worry about him anymore. And he would just go back there and work his way to the front, and he'd do that all day long, timing it, seeing how long it took him.
So Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads the Daytona 500 with Juan Pablo Montoya, who has won in IndyCar. He's won the Indy 500. He's won in Formula One at Monaco. He's won at Infineon Raceway, the road course, in these Sprint Cup cars. He's in the 42. And here comes Harvick in the 29.
Where's Hammond at?
Why?
Well, I picked Harvick to win today. And of course, they're a long way from the end, but he took the 9, I took the 29. What do you think now, bud?
It's 500 miles, baby. Just remember, it's a long way. And my man's back here just kind of minding his P's and Q's.
Yeah, this is no race to go backwards in.
Elliott Sadler, second car on the inside row, came within one green flag lap of winning last year's Daytona 500. He couldn't hold off Matt Kenseth, and then the rains came.
But I'm a little bit worried because Harvick usually doesn't show up near the front until about 5 to go normally.
Matt?
Mike, when you talk to different drivers throughout the field, they'll always point out a certain driver that really taught them how to draft and run restrictor plate racing. For Elliott Sadler, it was his longtime teammate Dale Jarrett. This is the biggest thing I learned: patience. Don't make any erratic moves, so that way you upset someone else. They won't work with you at the end. Patience has been the key for me to save my stuff to the end. That's why I've had so many good runs in restrictor plate racing.
But you know, Matt, I'm going to be watching that 19 car of Elliott Sadler and the 17 car of Matt Kenseth, the car and the team that won this race a year ago, along with Bill Elliott in the 21. Ford has a new race engine, the FR9, and those 3 teams are the only Ford teams that are racing that engine here in the Daytona 500.
Yeah, Kenseth just said they put the old engine in my car. It didn't run as good as this engine, and so he insisted on running this new engine, even though it's questionable at this point. They ran them at Talladega, and they did pretty well with it.
26 cars in the lead draft, 40 cars on the lead lap, 3 in the garage. Brad Keselowski, Regan Smith, and Sam Hornish.
There you could hear they're playing with the throttle just a little bit there on Truex.
You know what a lot of crew chiefs were telling me, Darryl, we were talking about them rolling out of the throttle. A lot of times to enhance the bump draft, they stay wide open and just sit up there and drag the brake a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Out front at 19 laps, the 2000 winner of the 500, Kevin Harvick. A capacity crowd at Daytona International Speedway, nearly 200,000 strong, watching Kevin Harvick hold the lead at 23 laps. Harvick was the 2007 Daytona 500 winner in a thrilling finish with Mark Martin that saw Clint Boyer going end over end across the stripe. But Harvick has not been back to victory lane in a Sprint Cup points race since February 07.
Yeah, 2 Budweiser shootout wins and finished second
a year ago, and he won the All-Star race, the Sprint All-Star race in 2007.
3 cars in the garage from that crash at lap 9. Here's Dick Berggren.
Okay, Brad Keselowski starting his very first ever Daytona 500 in the garage with the car bent up. How bad is that piece?
It's really bad. tore the whole right side off, broke the brake calipers, and messed up the toe, so it doesn't drive straight. You know, just one of the deals. You come here to Daytona and you spend, you know, 2 weeks working on your car and polishing it and making it the best you can, and just little tweaks here and there. And we had an awesome Penske Dodge Charger, and didn't even get a chance. Blew out a right rear tire there. By the looks of the carcass of the tire, what we were able to see there, ran over something. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the tires. Just caught a bad break.
Well, the crew's not giving up. They're working on his automobile, going to try to get him back out again.
Regan Smith and Keselowski's teammate Sam Hornish also in the garage.
We haven't seen a lot of tire failures or any tire problem necessarily. We saw that on the 31 car and I think the 07, 2 children's cars. Overall, tires have been pretty dependable down here.
Riding with Denny Hamlin, there is Jeff Burton right alongside. Let's check with Matt on the 5th place car, Montoya.
Mike, JPM was one of 4 drivers to stay out and not pit for tires. Juan reported to Brian Patty about 5 laps ago. He says, just so you know, we are totally out of control out here on old tires.
Well, and I think that's why we saw all those guys hit pit road about lap 9, as we've seen that all week long. And as I pointed out, this racetrack is probably the slickest it's been all week long today.
Well, the guys that stayed out when the caution came out are dropping like rocks. So you got to get tires right now. The track might get better and you might be able to pull that off later when it means something. It doesn't mean anything right now. So I'd come get tires every chance I got. How about it, Burnsy?
Mike, Kevin Harvick was just asked by crew chief Gil Martin, what you got, Kevin? How's your car? One-word answer, loose.
Well, loose is fast because he's leading this thing.
And right behind him, Kurt Busch, who has been the runner-up in the Daytona 500, 3 times a bridesmaid, pushed his teammate Ryan Newman to victory lane. And look who's got a run on the outside. They are not teammates, although Stewart's team, the 14, shares technology and engines with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Hendrick Motorsports, but it seems that these two, the 14 and the 88, if there's a chance for them to hook up on the racetrack, they'll run nose to tail.
Been pretty good dancing partners through the last few years here. They like to work together. They kind of know each other's style, know what to expect. That's a big deal right there, knowing what the guy in front of you is going to do, where he's going to go.
Trust is important at 190 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you don't want to dance with somebody who keeps stepping on your feet. Well, they seem to be able to have that figured out.
You know, Tony Stewart won the Nationwide Series race here yesterday. That's 15 wins total at this speedway in everything imaginable, with the exception of the Daytona 500.
And Larry, I said it in the pre-race show. Tony Stewart's career right now here, and particularly here at Daytona, is so reminiscent of Dale Sr. Dale Sr. would win every preliminary event we'd have down here, but then when he comes Sunday, it's like he was out of luck, like he had drained the luck bank empty.
Kevin Harvick, your leader after 28 laps. Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, Elliott Sadler, and now Busch wants the lead up in turn number 4.
You know, the only thing I can think about, why would you do that when you're just gapped to other cars behind you? But maybe that 2-car of Kurt Busch, it may be getting a little warm, needs to get a little air, the radiator.
Behind them, Elliott Sadler 3rd. His teammate Casey Kane has fallen back to 12th, however. Krista?
Mike, a little while ago, you mentioned the word trust. You know, there's also a trust in your teammates. Yes, Casey has slid back. Why? Well, listen to what he said on his radio a few laps ago.
I said, I don't know why Elliott didn't just stay in front of me. He went up in front of Harvick. He could be leading the race right now.
And that's Casey Kane with a confidence and actually a little bit of a swagger on the radio that we haven't heard in years past. He feels like he has a very good race car. He said it's a little loose, but not as bad as the others on the track right now.
Thanks, Krista. Now you'll see Elliott Sadler move up and pick up Kevin Harvick instead of staying with his teammate, the number 9.
Well, whatever Elliott did, I kind of like, because he's running 2nd and Casey has slid back to 9th. So I think Elliott just went with the best, what worked best for him.
Or couldn't hold his car to the bottom. Who knows?
Probably.
And that whole outside lane went right past. No wonder Casey's raising Kane.
But yeah, it kept him right at the bottom, and no one jumped in behind him. Now you see him jump up behind Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car.
But just in about 3 laps, Those first 3 cars had about a 1.5-second lead on Tony Stewart and Dale Jr. Kurt Busch decided to do a little racing, and when he did, it caught everybody back up.
I'm going to tell you who's also doing some marching up and racing is Elliott Sadler and Casey Kane's teammate A.J. Allmendinger in that 43 car. Remember, A.J. started telling Charlie because of an engine change. Looked good the other day in the dual race. He has worked himself to the top 10 in 34 laps. A.J. had 1 top 5 finish last year. It was 3rd right here in the Daytona 500.
And he doesn't hold back. He's one of those kind of drivers that gets up there and says, "How you like me now?" Because that's what he's looking for. He don't, he's not thinking about points, purse. He's just thinking about being out front.
A big responsibility carrying the king of stock car racing's number. That's Richard Petty's 43. That's one of the Richard Petty Motorsports 4-car team that switched to Ford this year. Petty a 7-time winner, and Petty Enterprises a 9-time winner of the 500. Kurt Busch puts his number 2 in the wind ahead of Kevin Harvick and Elliott Sadler.
I think that might have been Kevin Harvick saying, "Look, dude, if you're going to run out there all day long and let everybody catch back up, I'll let you in front of me." But I don't really think he wanted to. I think it was a necessity.
35 laps in. Let's get a little preview on pit stops. Matt?
Mike, 3 of the 4 cars that stayed out under that last caution, while Pablo Montoya, the 88 of Dale Jr., and the 5 of Pole Sitter Mark Martin, they are about 4 laps away from pitting. They've all discussed what lap they wanted to pit on. The concern for Montoya, he may have a tire going away. They told him if it starts to vibrate too bad, hit pit road no matter what. Steve?
Matt, Kevin Harvick just asked crew, how long do I have to stay out here? I've gotten really loose. They said about 13 more laps.
There, you mentioned A.J. Allmendinger. What's he got, overdriving that thing? I mean, he was 20th when I first saw him, 10th when you mentioned him, and all of a sudden he's up to 4th place.
I mean, he had a good driving race car in the dual race. Qualifying a week ago, it wasn't that fast by itself, but they've got that car driving good for him.
Let's take a quick break and then come back for pit stops. 36 laps complete. You're watching the Daytona 500 on Fox. Dale Jr., Juan Pablo Montoya, and Mark Martin have made their pit stops under green.
And unfortunately, with the 42 and the 5 being down there pitting side by side, it kind of held their pit stops up. But you at Daytona and Talladega with the carburetor restrictor plate, we see how much faster cars run hooked up in a line. You have to have dancing partners when you come to pit road. We get to California next week. Your hopes are you make a green flag stop with no one on pit road.
One thing I did notice, though, everybody was really cautious. They have learned that these pit boxes are probably the slickest pit boxes in racing, with all the oil and dirt and grime that's built up in those boxes.
So Kurt Busch is the leader. A.J. Allmendinger, the former open wheel road racer, has wheeled his way right up to 2nd place. Kevin Harvick holding 3rd. Elliott Sadler in a tight draft on Harvick. Jimmy Johnson in a bit of a gap back to Casey Kane in 6th.
And what we'll see, all of these cars made pit stops on lap 9. I'm going to say probably within the next 6 to 8 to 9 laps, everyone else will come to pit road. That's when it gets hairy on pit road with a lot of cars on there at one time.
The spacing's pretty good, though, for those front guys, so they'll be able to kind of not run over each other, and that's what usually happens when you try to get them all on at one time.
So here's outside pole sitter Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88, trying to hang on to the tail end of the lead lap and not go 1 lap down.
2 there. Careful with the 2. There you go. Make it push you. Got the 43 right with him. Make it push you.
Steve?
Mike, just want to update you on Dale Jr.'s pit stop. He said that his car was loose, but on the bottom of the racetrack, it was neutral. So they made a wedge adjustment to help tighten him up.
One car I noticed it's pretty good on old tires, and he proved that in the qualifying race. It's that 48 car. Right now, right here at the end of the run, when everybody's getting ready to pit, his car is one of the faster cars on the racetrack. Jimmy Johnson in a 48. He's right behind these 3 cars here, but looks like it's good on a long run.
Now, if a caution were to come out, NASCAR allows the first car 1 lap down to get the free pass and rejoin the lead lap. Here's Brad Keselowski coming back on track after the lap 9 accident.
Yeah, Montoya is the first car lap down, and what he wants to see right now is Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 stay in front of the leaders. That way Dale would be back on the lead lap. Montoya would be the first car and get that free pass should the caution come out. But these boys are going to be on pit road pretty quickly here.
And that right there, the 88 and the 2 both, that shows you the difference in fresh tires and kind of older tires. When you got good tires on, you run around the bottom. When they go away late in the run, you start rim riding a little bit. See, the 2 car will go high, and Junior will run the bottom, and he'll really gap the 2 off of turn 4 here because he can hold it wide open around the bottom the shortest distance.
Laps complete. 106 miles of 500.
A lot of times in a race, you'd be a little nervous about your fuel mileage or other things, but we have been down here so much, so long. These guys have run so many laps and so many races, they know exactly how far they can go.
If we were in the Hollywood Hotel, we'd ring the bell for the new leader. Ding, ding. A.J. Allmendinger.
I want it.
If he can keep that lead and lead this lap at the finish line, start-finish line, it'll be the first lap he's led. He didn't even lead a lap last year in 2009.
There's a lap up. Good job there, guys.
There's always a surprise. Every year you come to Daytona, pretty predictable. Yeah, this guy's going, that guy's going, but there's always one guy that you say, where'd he come from?
Pit stops have begun under green now for the cars that stopped early in the race. Clint Boyer will be the first of those as he brings his Richard Childress Racing Chevy to the pit lane. Matt?
And Boyer, one of those drivers slipping and sliding out there. Look for the chassis adjustment. You can see the wrench going in the back window. Significant adjustment for the 33 of Boyer. 4-tire change going on. Remember, he's had a rough speed weeks. Not only having an incident in his teammate's car, but also this one, and he's away.
He'll lose a lap to the race leader, A.J. Allmendinger, but that whole lead pack is going to need a pit stop very soon. A.J. Allmendinger is leading the Daytona 500. Steve?
And Mike, A.J. Allmendinger's update to his crew, it's not as bad as it was on the Thursday races. Still a little bit tight. Mike, his concern is he's getting a little bit hot, the radiator that is.
And that's what blew their engine up in practice. They got it too hot yesterday, and they had to change.
That's what makes it really fast, too. You take that grill up, that baby's going to be a little quicker than everybody else. The question is, for how long?
AJ from Los Gatos, California, outside San Francisco. We're going to the left coast next week. 2 p.m. Eastern on Fox. There is Kurt Busch running in second. He's been in the top 5 almost the whole race, Matt.
And Mike, they were about 3 laps away from making their next scheduled pit stop. The guys are stretching here in the pits, getting ready to service the car. Kurt said, I'm really not sure what to tell you. It's just on the edge of either being tight or too free. Right now, though, he can still run the bottom or run the middle at will.
And that's almost one of those situations where I believe I just put 4 tires on her. Don't do anything to slow the stop down. Let's see if it repeats the next run. Looks like he wants this lead back, though, before this pit stop. As Kurt Busch, the 2 car, takes the lead back from A.J. Allmendinger. But, you know, for making green flag stops, I like the way those 2 cars are running right now with Kurt leading, because as they come in on pit road, Kurt's pit is on down pit road from A.J. Allmendinger.
Martin Truex on pit road, David Rudiman, Marcus Ambrose, Max Pappas, and Michael Waltrip in the pit lane. Krista?
David Rudiman took 2 tires on the last stop, so you see the crew work coming around to make 4. He said that he's just a little bit free on exit, but good.
And Michael McDowell, who you see on the left side of the box on the right, now just coming into his pit. All of those drivers pitting on lap 49.
This place is tough to get on the pit road under green flag stops. You know, you're out there running 190 miles an hour. These guys don't run the biggest brake package because it's less rotating weight, and you're trying to get down to 55 miles per hour. In fact, here comes a group right now.
Bobby Labonte is in. The blue car is Travis Kvapil, and behind them, John Andretti. All of these are mid to back of the pack cars making stops here at lap 50. Robert Richardson is in. Bill Elliott in that red Wood Brothers car. Glenn Wood waved the green flag for this race, and Joe Nemechek is in.
You know, I don't like to keep harping about this, but people forget that there was a 24-hour race here 2 weeks ago. And even those cars coming on the pit road, and certainly the pit boxes and shape they're in, those guys were here racing for 24 hours. They left a lot of grime and dirt behind.
Here come the leaders. Kurt Busch, A.J. Allmendinger, Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane, Kevin Harvick, Elliott Sadler, and more. Krista.
Casey Kane said his car is just a little loose. Kenny Francis said, you want the track bar down a round? He said, no, I'm fine. And then he changed his mind and said, put it down a half round, trying to tighten up his car. Steve.
The 43 keeps getting tighter and tighter. They're going to make sure right now they scrape that grill. Matt.
And a track bar adjustment already completed on the 2 of Kurt Busch, so they're trying to make an adjustment on that car. Meanwhile, the 14 of Stewart, he's getting an air pressure change. Also, they were discussing a chassis adjustment as well. They pulled a piece of tape off the nose of the 14. He's away.
That was over a third of the field on pit road there at lap 50.
And very orderly, I might say.
And the leader has become last year's Rookie of the Year, Joey Logano. He is going to surrender the front spot to pit, as will Robbie Gordon, Denny Hamlin, and Jeff Burton. Mike Bliss, top of your screen, coming in with them. Dick.
Joey Logano, he's run in 3 different races so far this Speed Weeks, and in all 3 he has finished in the 7th position. Car has been tight, and that's been the characteristic of everything he has run here so far at Daytona during Speed Weeks. Trouble on Logano's car. The hub is on fire as they're trying to get the wheel on.
Darrell, I think that was done as he jumped on those brakes trying to get on the pit road. It looks like the left front and the right front had some flame.
Yeah, the brake pads, sometimes if you get a little debris in there, like rubber buildup from the tires, it'll get caught in the rotors, and when you heat those brakes up, it'll catch them on fire, but it'll go right back out.
Well, we cycle back around after green flag pit stops, and Kurt Busch, driving for Roger Penske, is once again the leader. Richard Petty's driver A.J. Allmendinger in second, and Rick Hendrick's driver Jimmy Johnson in third. Hot time in Daytona today.
Just over a quarter of the way through the Daytona 500. 10 leaders already. The record for this race, 18, and time for an AT&T race break. Your leader is Kurt Busch, who has 3 times been runner-up in the Daytona 500, and a guy who was going to take a job at a drugstore to help his mom out, be at work at pharmaceuticals, but instead found interest in racing and made his way through. The guy right behind him, A.J. Allmendinger, is a guy whose parents had to mortgage the family home to keep him in racing when he was a kid. So 3 of the 4 Petty cars have led. A.J. Allmendinger did not lead a race last year. He's led 3 already. And right now, Kurt Busch ahead of A.J. And moving up is Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jimmy Johnson as we're inside the Hollywood Hotel, along with Jeff Hamlin. Chris Myers keeping an eye on things. You heard the discussion from the guys upstairs. Jeff, you have tape on your nose. I guess is the best way to
yeah,
say it.
That's the best way to start it right now, Chris, because tape is so important. And the thing is, folks, we talk about the cars running hot, but also when you add tape to the car, this is about a 1/4 of an inch of tape. Taking this piece of tape off to make the car run cooler could effectively change the handling of the race car dramatically, Chris. A lot of the drivers have told me, especially the guys who have been driving the Fords, have noticed that an 1/8 of an inch of tape could make it feel like you got 2 brand new front tires on the car, make it have that much more grip. So when you start having heating problems, and Larry's been talking about the way the weather is today and track conditions, if they have to give up that kind of downforce, they could have a handling problem for the rest of the day, and that could be a really big deal. But the key thing is, if you don't keep the engine cool, hey, you're going to wind up blowing the engine and be behind the pit wall.
And we'll keep an eye on that. Of course, Jeff bringing this up from the cutaway car down below at the Hollywood Hotel. The AT&T fastest pit crew of the year is back. Last year's winner was Jeff Gordon and the 24 crew. We haven't talked a lot about Gordon today. And AT&T and the winning pit crew, $20,000 donated to Kyle Petty's Victory Junction Camp. You can play your part this year. All you have to do from your AT&T phone, text the car number for the pit crew you think is the fastest and most valuable at each race. Text to 2258. That's 2258, delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network.
Three-car breakaway, but here's the second pack, including those teammates, Kane and Elliott Sadler in the 19, and that is part of about a 10-car, kind of loosely put together draft. Green flag pit stops have broken this field up a bit.
I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but I'm a little confused. I don't understand what's going on here today. It's got to be the weather. It's got to be because the track's hotter, slicker. We haven't seen this kind of separation amongst the cars in a week. Every race we've had down here, they've just been laying on top of each other, 2, 3, 4 wide. Today, you're able to get a couple, 3 cars hooked up and kind of get a little away from the other guys, and I'm surprised.
You know, you're looking over there at Carl Edwards in that 99 car. He's worked his way into the top 10, and of course, he was another car like A.J. Allmendinger that had to go to the rear of the field. And they, even on that first caution, they came back to pit road to make some adjustments to the tape, top that thing off with fuel. But Bob Osborne, the crew chief, kept him in sync by pitting him with all those other cars. But another car I've been watching that fell back at the start of the race is that 18 car, Kyle Busch. Now he has made his way, Dick, back to the top 5.
Yeah, Kyle Busch is running in the 4th position right now, and they have been struggling with that race car since they got here, but it seems as if they've got it pretty well dialed in. He's got a lot of rear grip, but he has said that he's afraid that he's got so much rear grip that he might abuse it somehow or another. He calls it the Atlantis syndrome, where the rear tires spin unintentionally, and they wind up getting burned off. He's trying to avoid that while holding his speed.
You know, Darrell, the Toyotas, they've just not made a lot of noise down here during speed weeks. They've been okay, but they hadn't been real good compared to the competition.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised because, you know, the last couple of years down here, of course, it might have something to do with the way they're handling more than it is the way they're running. But the last couple of years down here, they've been the cars to beat, but they haven't shown the steam or the speed this year.
Another surprise is that you have to go all the way back to 20th spot to find Jeff Gordon, a 3-time winner of the 500, and he has the most restrictor plate wins of anybody in this field with 12. But his best plate finish in his last 8 races at either Daytona or Talladega is 13th. Only 2 drivers have won more 500s than Gordon. Cale Yarborough with 4 and Richard Petty with 7.
And Larry, I'm a little bit concerned. The 48 car seems to always get it figured out, but the 24 and the 88, they seem to struggle over the long run. They seem to have cars that run pretty good on new tires for a few laps, but they can't run like the 48 does on the long run.
They have a tough time putting together the beginning, the middle, and the end.
62 laps. Kurt Busch has never won a race at Daytona International Speedway. Could today be the day? Caution is out at Daytona International Speedway.
Turn 4 down here. It's the Joe Nemechek car.
And Joe has had a pretty hard hit.
Right. What was that all about?
Sounds like he's not happy.
Good question. The unsponsored Toyota of Nemechek. Well, I say unsponsored. He picked up England Stoves there yesterday.
Yeah, they heard Joe's story, and they really liked Joe, and they decided to jump on his car for the race today.
Let's see what happened to the 87. Oh, boy.
Is it?
I mean, Hornish, the 77, did not get against him. He just got loose. Hornish just went back out on the racetrack a few laps ago after being in the garage.
Seen that a little bit down here. If your car is loose and somebody kind of gets under that left rear quarter panel, it seems like it'll almost just blow you around. I think it's that big shark fin, possibly.
Well, and you know, Darrell, at the speeds these guys are running, if you're a little bit loose,
yeah,
doesn't take much.
he might have even looked in the mirror to see where he was, and you know, like got behind there for a second. You just don't know.
Second caution of the day comes out right at 1/3 distance, lap 67, with Kurt Busch the leader, A.J. Allmendinger second, and 4-time reigning Sprint Cup champ Jimmy Johnson in third. Nemechek also had a short day yesterday in the Nationwide Series race, and in both events he is not only the driver, he's also the car owner.
Well, he got his car torn up yesterday in the Nationwide race, and here he is today with the same problem. So that's not good for an underfunded team trying to make it.
But you get a feeling, listen to that radio transmission, he feels like maybe Hornish got into him a little bit. I think when he sees the replay, he'll certainly see it differently.
That car gets close behind you and the air moves around. It's like a hand reaches out, just helps you sideways.
I always said if you can touch one of these things in the middle of the corner, you can spin it out.
Now it's easier than ever to follow your driver's every move on the track with the new look NASCAR.com Race View. Live in-car audio for every driver, real-time race statistics, and you can watch up to 3 different virtual camera angles. Get started at NASCAR.com/raceview now.
I know where it's going to be moving around now, Krista, right down there on pit road.
You know it, Larry Mack. Casey Kane said the change made the back end of his car better, but tightened the front end up too much. They are reversing the change they made. First it was wedge in, so now they'll go wedge out. Dick.
Kyle Busch slid over the line in the front of his pit box. He had to back up. That will cost him dearly. He was running 4th before this round. Steve.
Jimmy Johnson in the bottom of the left of your screen says, go back to where we were. I'm twitchy and loose. A.J. Allmendinger says the front end turning better, Matt.
Close to the wall for Kurt Busch, but still his jackman was able to get the car up on the left side. No changes for the Blue Deuce.
Busch and Allmendinger come out where they started. A gain for Casey Kane.
See, Kyle Busch lost 6 spots, and we'll see why. Dick Berggren just talked about it. Is sliding through those pits. You can see the front tires locked up. Jeff Hammond, one of his keys in the pre-race, solid pit stops. That includes what the driver does.
I've seen that over and over and over again down here. And if you just look at the pit boxes themselves, this is all oil and dirt and everything. I tell you what I'd have done, Mike, Larry, if I knew what pit box I was going to have.
You'd have power washed.
I'd have got me a power wash and I'd have washed that bad boy. I'd have put me some Tide on it and washed her out. Look at that. That's slick.
Matt Kenseth, defending champion of the Daytona 500, is posted first across the line last time by. 1 to go, and we'll go back to green in the Daytona 500. 69 laps complete. Kurt Busch is the leader. His younger brother Kyle, by sliding through his pit, lost about 4 seconds on that stop. Here it is from his onboard camera. If the tires lock up, you cannot make it.
Push your back. Stop, okay?
You have to go back behind the white line to make that pit stop, or you get a penalty. And let's show you the difference in what it means between the 2 Busch brothers stops, including pushing the car back by the line. That's about almost a 4-second difference. Kyle Busch came into the pits in 4th position, and he came out 10th.
A little bit is so much. The competition's about as tough, if not tougher, on pit road as it is out there on that racetrack.
But if you're going to mess up, it's a good time to mess up.
Do it early.
Get it out of the way.
Darrell, perhaps one difference, one reason these cars get a bit strung out, it's warmer than it's been all week. The sun hasn't been out much all week, and you should hear what the drivers are talking about. Let's listen.
I feel like I need more grip with the front end for the center of the corner. Seems to be handling with less, like it's got less grip this run. I got no grip. They're just driving around me.
Drivers are always griping about the grip. I don't know why that is.
Well, Thursday in the second qualifying race, it had cooled down. There wasn't any sun, and everybody said, boy, track's got great grip.
Yeah, yesterday morning. Remember how cold it was here yesterday morning in our final practice? I mean, this is the hottest conditions we've had.
And one thing they'd love to do is what Jeff Hammond showed a while ago in the Hollywood Hotel, is put some tape on that nose. That'll give the front tires more grip, because as hot as it is, you can't, because you have to have more air flowing to cool the water in the radiator.
We'll see somebody slide on the back of one of these things for long, just those rear shocks.
36 cars on the lead lap. Back under green, Busch and Allmendinger. Casey Kane, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex.
This is like a reset, though. I mean, right now everybody's got a chance to keep this time, maybe not let everybody get separated so much.
We've got 36 cars on the lead lap here, 70 laps into it.
Only one car now in the garage. That's Regan Smith. Harvick wants a chance to lead once again with that 29. He's got to get past Busch and Allmendinger to do it, though. Well, folks, you've rested those surround sound systems all winter long. I'd say it's time.
Rank it up.
And here comes Harvick.
And they got a couple of new players up there too. You got Martin Truex Jr. there right behind Harvick in the 56 car, and there's another car up there, Greg Biffle, that's kind of all of a sudden surfaced after these pit stops in the 16. That 29 car is stout.
It is stout, but they've just, I think they just like 3 years ago, they've got that car driving good. It's got good power too.
We've said this week that to win this 500, it's going to take a driver willing to risk it all on the last lap, and Kevin Harvick has proven he is that kind of driver.
And you know, in order to win it also, you got to have a pretty good race. You got to have a pretty fast car to put yourself in a position to win it. That's what Kevin seems to be able to do.
On the other hand, A.J. Allmendinger has never had a strong chance to win the Daytona 500.
When you got a driver like Allmendinger, you got to keep him calm. You got to get him to the finish.
And add to the mix Martin Truex Jr. Dick?
Well, Truex started in the 14th position, Mike. Right now, he has motored his way forward to the 5th spot. The pit stops have been absolutely fabulous. He's thrilled with the way the race car is running. This is a very, very good run for a driver with a brand new team and a new crew chief. Krista.
Dick, Greg Biffle has been very strong as of late. One of the reasons they have stuck with their game plan. His car started out a little tight, so they've continued to make wedge adjustments on each stop just to try to loosen it up, and it is working. Greg Biffle all the way up into the top 10.
And these guys are walking a tightrope, meaning the crew chiefs. You know, you don't want the car pushing and not turning. You want to free it up, but you don't want to jump the fence and get it loose, because we've seen how these guys are when they're loose.
A.J. Allmendinger, former champ car open wheel rookie of the year. Hard to believe the way he is holding this pack, that it's only his second Daytona 500, and that last year's third place finish in the 500 is his best Sprint Cup finish in 80 starts.
He likes Daytona.
You know, to follow up on Dick's report just a second ago, talking about Martin Truex Jr. in that 56 car, he mentioned a new team with a new crew chief. That new crew chief is Pat Tryson, who moved over from Penske Racing with Kurt Busch in there too. Pat has made the chase every year except one with two different drivers, Kurt Busch and Mark Martin. I like the combination they've created there.
I do too. That's a good job. It was a good catch for Michael and them to get Pat over there. But one thing about Allmendinger, don't forget, in the shootout, no, in the 150, he had a fast car. Might have could have won the 150, and he slid through his pit box and really cost him.
That's right. More on the leader. Here's Steve.
And Mike, this is all fresh for A.J. Allmendinger. He just told his crew chief, Mike Shiplett, you know, it's kind of cool to lead a real lap here at Daytona. And by the way, I'm running wide open. They said, we're sure you are.
The 2003 Toyota Atlantic Road Race champ had 5 open wheel wins in 2006, came to NASCAR in 2007. Now he's leading the biggest race of his career from Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick. Caution is out at lap 78. Mike Bliss has spun off turn number 2 pit road is open. Krista.
A couple of deep breaths. That was the advice from Kenny Francis to Casey Kane's crew. They're just trying to find the right combination. They're going to make a few small changes to get the handling just a little better. Casey needs his car just a little free. Dick.
Martin Truex is not going to have any changes to the chassis of his race car, just the 4 fresh tires and fuel to it. It has been running perfectly, Steve.
A.J. Allmendinger's real good, Dick. No adjustments. 4 tires. Also 4 tires for Kevin Harvick, who's a lot better as well, Matt.
11 laps, Steve, since that last stop for Kurt Busch. Slides to a stop. Fuel only for the Blue Deuce.
That's why Busch is the first to leave pit road. Ryan Newman, a big gamble, no tires. And you see those that took 2.
Yeah, they only had 7 laps on those tires.
We're under caution. Look up here, coming in at the top of the screen, and Mike Bliss goes around
all by himself. Don't know if he had a tire problem or what, but the thing just spun out.
And just remember, he was involved in that first caution earlier back on lap 8.
And remember, did the same thing in practice, just spun out.
Third caution flag in this year's Daytona 500 on Fox. Ready for the restart in the Daytona 500. The game has changed. A.J. Allmendinger's pit crew hung a lug nut on the left front of the car. Took them a long time to make their pit stop. And Marcus Ambrose has gone behind the wall to make repairs on his Toyota. Green flag.
Now Kurt Busch in the 2 car chose the outside line. Maybe going back to Darrell's theory, maybe he felt like that Clint Boyer in that 33 could give him a little better push possibly. But right now that bottom line with Greg Biffle in the 16 getting pushed by Kyle Busch in the 18s prevailing, but it looks like now that 2 and 33s coming on the outside.
Let's also update that Ryan Newman, not only did he not get tires, didn't get gas either, missed his pit, had to come back in, and Newman has had to restart 31st. You'll see the black number 39. Look to the left and then come right through.
See the pointer right there on him, and he had to come back to pit road and wanted to come back and get 4 fresh tires.
Whoa, buddy. Man,
Greg Biffle.
Clint Boyer had Kurt Busch jacked up coming through the trial just then. That was close.
And Greg Biffle, 12th different leader of this year's Daytona 500.
I like what's happening with these restarts. So look at here, here's Jeff Gordon. He's been in the back here for most of the race, but here he is, Krista, up there in 6th place.
That's right, DW. And Steve Letarte had said on the radio before that last stop, we are not going to panic. They had gotten back there because they had a poor qualifying start. They started 21st. They took right sides only, so he is back up in front, and that's where Jeff Gordon is used to being at Daytona.
The thing about a Jeff Gordon, a guy like that, him and Mark Martin, you don't know how good they are. They can kind of fool you sometime into thinking their car isn't very good, and all of a sudden they surface.
Bill and Krista just reported about Jeff Gordon and Steve Letarte taking 2 right side tires only. That's what Greg Biffle and Greg Irwin did with that 16 car on that last stop.
But I like these caution flags and pit stops certainly have mixed up the front of the field. We got people up there now that we hadn't really seen all day.
Yeah, a guy that's having a good run. He's right up there in the top 10 in the 9th position, starting back in 32nd is Paul Menard and that number 98 Ford.
Sprint brings you an inside look at what's happening now inside the Sprint Cup Series. Biggest mover in this race so far, up 32 spots from his starting position, number 24, Jeff Gordon. For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprintcup.com/speed.
Well, we'll see if Larry now has observation about the 24 and the 88 particularly, if they are able to put a whole run together, and if they start up there near the front and stay up there during the run.
See Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 88 car in the middle of the screen. He's working the middle right now. without a lot of help. See a couple of cars jumping in behind him, and Jimmy Johnson, the 48, his teammate tried to, but it's so bottled up right there.
Yeah, nobody wants to be in the middle. It really does move you around and shuffles you around. Your car bounces from one side to the other. It's very uncomfortable.
3 of the 4 Hendrick cars lined up nose to tail. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 5 of Mark Martin, and you ride with Jimmy Johnson. That's Bobby Labonte to the left.
I love these engines. They're turning about 8,800 RPM, which is about 1,000 more than what we've turned down here through the years. They really are barking when they go down the straightaway. Lift this thing.
Busch last year won the Nationwide Series championship, and many think that the maturity he gained in that title run will put him into the chase for the Sprint Cup and perhaps make him a threat to win it this year.
Yeah, I've said all along, I just think he got rid of so many distractions. By winning that championship, he just re-signed with Joe Gibbs Racing, a contract extension, and he just got engaged just recently.
He's working that thing, though. It's not handling all that great. I think it's just his sheer desire is keeping it up there right now.
Back at 7th place, the number 14, the Old Spice car of Tony Stewart, yesterday's winner in the Nationwide race. Matt?
Mike in the bottom is Tony Stewart, the 14, fighting the same condition from the drop of the green. The car just way too tight, especially on entry and exit. Darian Grubb continues to make progress and continues to make adjustments. Wedge, track bar, twice they put tape on the grill because once it blew off, the car running too cool. The last stop, just 2 tires.
And oh, by the way, the owner from his win yesterday is the guy right behind him in the 29 car, Kevin Harvick. Well, let me check that. That driver's wife, Delana Harvick, was his owner.
If Stewart's in the top 10, he's a threat to win it. Right now, he runs 5th. Your leader, Greg Biffle, Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, with 87 laps complete. We'll be back after this look at Alice in Wonderland. Greg Biffle won the 4th of July race here in Daytona in his rookie season 2003. Hasn't been back to victory lane at the World Center of Racing since.
Yeah, the restrictor plate races, for the most part, they've been kind of tough on Greg Biffle. They've been pretty tough on Roush Fenway across the board. They did win the last restrictor plate race of the year last year at Talladega with Jamie McMurray, but it's been hard on that group.
Tell you, that 16 car was bad fast in his qualifying race. He got in a long line at the end of the race and fell back, but he had a good fast car. Might have could have won.
You know, I spoke about Jamie McMurray winning at Talladega, driving for Roush Fenway. Of course, now he's driving for Earnhardt Ganassi, and he was driving sideways right there off turn 4, but he's moved nicely back up into the top 10. He has had a loose race car, I think, ever since they unloaded it out of the truck about a week and a half ago. Doesn't seem to bother him, though.
No, he's if it's catchable loose, you know, if the back and woo, that's ugly. That may not, I don't know how many times you could catch one like that.
McMurray is 9th. You're riding with Casey Kane in 10th. 108 laps to go. 3 caution flags. The first for a 6-car accident in turn 2. Then Joe Nemechek's bowed into the wall in turn 3. And finally, Mike Bliss coming off turn number 2. Those are the 3 caution flags so far. Nemechek and Regan Smith are out of the race. Marcus Ambrose and Mike Bliss under repair behind the wall.
Now, Jeff Gordon just jumped up on the outside there. I think he thought he had a good bit of help from Clint Boyer. We'll see how that works out for him.
Well, almost 3 wide. Harvick about got caught in the middle in his number 29. Now we get Sadler tried the outside on him.
Gordon looked to be pretty content riding on the bottom right there, running along the 3rd place, but he jumped to the outside. Let's see if it works. Getting a pretty good shove off into turn 3. The 24 car is starting to show some muscle, Larry.
It's almost like he was just sitting back there kind of waiting to see how things were going to shake out. And of course, Steve Letarte made the call to go with just 2 right side tires on that last caution.
was getting some vibes, trying to get some vibes to see what the race was how everybody was going to drive today.
Ooh, Kyle Busch at 18 said, I believe Big Daddy's coming. I'm going to get up here and get a push from him.
I swear, I don't even think he said, excuse me.
He just slid right up the racetrack and nobody was there.
Well, you know, he has one of the best spotters out there, and when they've worked together very well, Jeff Dickerson, and when he tells him to go clear up, he doesn't hesitate.
And it's bye-bye Biffle. Biffle on the bottom surrenders the lead to Kyle Busch, and Kyle could become this race's 13th different leader.
Yeah, I couldn't help but listening to the pre-race when Jeff Hammond talked about one of the keys being trust your spotter. Kyle Busch and Jeff Dickerson's who I thought about.
Exactly.
Right in the middle of that pack on the bottom, A.J. Allmendinger in the 43 was leading this race, made the pit stop, had problems, came out toward the tail end, and he has fought his way back into the top 15.
Well, he told the guys, you know, settle down in there and I'll get it back for us. But sometime a driver like Allmendinger, you don't want to put him in a situation where he tries to overcome a mistake in the pits.
I think that's where you have to be a salesman and convince him we still have over half this race to go and we got a good race car.
Steve Burns is in Allmendinger's pit.
Mike, here's the other part to that. AJ just told his crew, come on guys, you have to work hard in the pits. This car is not as good back here in the pack.
Well, and I can't help but think the fact we have documented about how it runs hot back in traffic, and when he was out there leading, you're getting all that fresh air flowing through those openings, and it stands a chance, I'm sure, of running a little bit warm back there in traffic.
I think traffic also is a problem for this car down here this year because of the addition of the shark fin back on the that runs along the deck lid. I think that really moves the car around when there's a lot of turbulence and a lot of cars around it. That thing is huge. It helps the car when it gets around backwards to keep it on the ground, but I think it's affecting it side by side, a little side drafted.
Things line up single file for the moment with Kyle Busch, your leader. He's the Toyota top performer of the race. Martin Truex in 7th, Rudeman in 14th, Brian Vickers in 20th. Dick Berggren.
2 laps ago, Kyle Busch told his crew that the car is bad loose. On the last pit stop, they put just 2 fresh tires on it rather than 4. Busch wants 4 tires when they pit the next time around. That'll tighten it up.
But that was a good science project. I'd rather come down pit road and at least get 2 tires and keep that thing full of fuel than do what maybe Mark Martin, Montoya, and Earnhardt Jr. did earlier in the race and just stay out, like you said, Darrell, it gets you off sequence on your fuel.
Here comes Jeff Gordon. 3-time winner of the 500. He's going to bring Clint Boyer with him. And Gordon becomes the 14th different leader today.
And the fans came to their feet.
And that's changed. It wasn't that many years ago they'd come to their feet shaking their fist.
Well, the other thing is, look who he passed for the lead, Kyle Busch.
That may have had something to do with it.
Good point.
Kyle's the most polarizing driver in the sport today. Fans either love him or loathe him, but nobody is wishy-washy about Kyle Busch.
Hey, there's another car, Larry, that's resurfaced to the front again after some adjustments. The 9 car of Casey Kane. Looks like it's working pretty good here on this run as well.
I believe I can see that looseness in that 18 car that he was describing to his crew right there.
And that's one of the things that hurts him. He doesn't know when to, you know, if the car is that bad or not real good, give it a chance. Don't wreck it.
Jeff Gordon leads the Daytona 500 as we come to the halfway lap.
Live at Daytona and Clint Boyer, we've had our 24th lead change as he becomes the 15th different leader and just past the halfway point of the 52nd running of the Daytona 500. Chris Myers, Jeff Hammond, and Jeff, the last 17 Daytona 500s, the leader at the halfway point has failed to win the race.
I don't like those kind of statistics. I don't believe in them. I'll tell you that much right now.
And our AT&T race break as we check on some of the movement here. Kevin Harvick moving up into second behind Kyle Busch. Now, Jeff Gordon, let's go through some of the guys over the first 100 laps or so.
I've been pretty impressed right now. Jeff's been working on his race car. He's finally got up toward the front, good call out there by his crew chief. And now he's kind of checking everything out. He's been back about 5th or 6th. You see him in 3rd place right now. He's led this race. You better not count this guy out.
Carl Edwards had to start at the back of the pack, survived an earlier caution, got through some wreckage.
Yeah, he's been very patient. I think he's got a really solid handling race car. They were very confident down in his garage area. I think he's just kind of pacing himself again, and this new engine seems like it's performing pretty well.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. started on the front row, dipping back to 14th. He has led 4 laps in this race.
He's been back and forth, but I think they're still fighting that handling package. But the cool thing about it right now, I'm seeing a lot of fight out of this 88 car today. Even though he gets shuffled back, you see him right here behind his teammate Mark Martin. They're trying to battle his way back up.
And speaking of Mark Martin, at 51, the pole sitter has come in. He said going into the race, Jeff, we have a very good car. We're going to sit back and wait to make our move.
Well, I think that's what you're seeing right now, and he's kind of keeping in contact with that front pack. But I think Mark is letting his experience kind of dictate to him what's going on.
So it's wide open. All 3 Joe Gibbs cars have led today. Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Busch. This an AT&T Race Break. Text your opinion on who you think is going to win the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. Points awarded for fastest pit times. Jeff will have his selection. Winning the race, most importantly, your vote along with Jeff's. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. Rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
And for the lead, Jeff Gordon gets under Clint Boyer and comes back to the front. Greg Biffle in third, Elliott Sadler in fourth. During the break, Darrell, we're talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got a lot of straightaway speed. He wasn't that comfortable getting into turn 3 a couple of laps ago, and last time off turn 2 he just about had to shut the car down, lost a bunch of spots.
Yeah, the car took off with him. He had to really get up out of the throttle when he did. Everybody drove by him, but I love this restrictor plate. They come off turn 2 over there, and it's like a drag car going down the back. The guys that are getting the draft, they really pick up a lot of speed. They make a lot of really crazy moves getting into turn 3. I think when things start to really shake out, that's where we're going to see most of the actions, right there, getting into turn 3. And here comes Junior. You can see he's got that great speed down the straightaway, but he's having trouble holding the car on the bottom.
Just 83 now, just 83.
Up front, Clint Boyer, who finished 4th here last year in that yellow number 33. Greg Biffle trying to beat him to the line, and does.
And Biffle is doing it without a lot of help, because it's quite a ways back there to that 24 car of Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon's car is a little weird to me, Larry. He's the best on the very bottom, but he doesn't get anybody down there to work with him. He tried to move up, and he made some pretty good moves up there, but I don't think his car is happy up high.
How about Greg Biffle, Krista?
Well, Mike, if folks at home are looking for someone to cheer for and they like loyalty and consistency, Greg Biffle is your guy. Greg Irwin, speaking with him this morning, Greg Biffle's crew chief, said this team, this group has been together for over 2 years. The 3M Pit Bulls, as their over-the-wall crew is called, is back. They haven't lost anyone. And Greg Irwin, the crew chief, thinks that is what will get them to the front. And that's where Biffle is right now.
And there's no question, they lost some races early in the year last year because of mistakes on pit road with the 16.
Junebug is all over the place. He's got a fast car, but he doesn't know where it's going to go next, I don't think.
Now watch the 88 come off the corner way up near the wall.
Here he is right here sideways.
Woof. And he hangs onto it, does not cross the double yellow line, which is out of bounds. Steve.
Mike, Dale Earnhardt Jr., it's really funny on the radio. He said, boys, it's fun being that loose, but I'm not sure it's very productive.
It won't be very fun for long.
No, that movie he made off turn 4 then was not a thing of beauty.
91 laps to go. Clint Boyer from Kansas leads Virginia's Elliott Sadler in the Daytona 500. 1979, Cale Yarborough in the 11 tried to slingshot Donnie Allison. That didn't work too well. They ended up in a fight along with Donnie's brother Bobby in the infield after the checkered flag, as Richard Petty led Darrell Waltrip and A.J. Foyt to the finish line in the first Daytona 500 on live flag-to-flag coverage on national television.
Mike, it was a perfect storm. You know, the whole East Coast snowed in. We started the race in the rain. The track finally dried up. That's why it was so muddy down there. I think if the track hadn't been muddy, but when Cale got off the track, he might have been able to save it. But the track was wet, or the grass was wet, and it shot him back into Donnie.
I'm going to tell you what, it didn't last long, but he got up there and led him a lap. David Reagan in that 6 car, another Roush Fenway car, led the last time by the start-finish line.
This is the last year I'm going to wait for him to have a breakout year.
All right. He's trying to break out into the lead at the start-finish line, and he leads this lap from Clint Boyer, Elliott Sadler, Jeff Gordon, and Greg Biffle. Let's go down to our Ford Fusion 360 and Jeff Hammond.
Mike, one thing you guys have been talking about all day long has been the shark fin and how it really affects these cars when it's in a pack, and especially if you wind up getting caught in the middle. Well, let's talk about it. It's back here on the back of the car. This is what they call the shark fin itself. This is something that's been on the car all of the past years, but what NASCAR did this season, they doubled the thickness of it. I'm talking about the overall width, plus they've also added another piece to the deck lid. And by adding this, all of a sudden you're keeping air from getting up on the back of this rear wing the way it did a year ago. A lot of the teams have been complaining about the fact the cars have been loose, entering the corner, having to work on the handling package to try to compensate for this, on top of the fact that when you get into traffic, as tall as these are, as the air works around, it moves the back of this car around, just like the rudder of a boat. You've got to be concerned that when you get into a pack that you do not open yourself up for somebody to use this shark fin against you. Now, guys, it was put on here to help a car when it spins around backwards. It was a safety improvement for that alone, but right now it is a handling issue.
Thanks, Jeff. Now, as they went into turn one, the 19 of Elliott Sadler had his hand out the window, waving to the drivers behind him, stayed up near the wall coming off that corner, but has not fallen off the pace.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he thought he had a problem would be my guess. And normally you do that if you're going to, I think what he's really trying to tell the guys is I don't want anybody up tucked under the back of me. I'm going to get down out of the way, and you go by me on the outside. Normally that would be something you'd do when you're getting ready to pit. You'd let everybody know that you were going to pit. That might be the other thing as well.
That'll be happening pretty quick here now.
116 laps complete, 84 to go in the Daytona 500 on Fox. John Andretti has slapped the wall and put us under caution for the fourth time today. The pits had not yet been open, but Jimmy Johnson came in to take care of a flat right front tire. Now pit road is open. Krista.
Casey Kane says his car is pretty loose, but it's fast. He just has to find the right line. It's going to be 4 tires, and that's a no-go fuel for Casey Kane in the 9. Steve.
No adjustments for Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. He said this car is good. If I get by everyone, this race is over, Matt.
And Clint Boyer, they've made a track bar and a wedge adjustment. He said the car was pretty good. They're just trying to keep up with the balance as this racetrack continues to change, and he's away.
Here's the race off pit road. Advantage Boyer.
And as you'll see, everybody did about the same thing because we were right there on top of what was about to be green flag pit stops.
Now watch for the beige colored Window World Foundation car of John Andretti just coming into view, and you can see the smoke where he cut down a tire and pounded the wall.
Boy, Larry, all of a sudden, you know, the 48 had looked like a tire issue. The John Andretti did. Those are long runs we've had here, and looks like we might be wearing those tires out a little bit.
Of course, if they're a little bit tight and pushing, they'll wear that right front tire out.
A lot of activity under this, the 4th caution flag of the day. Travis Kvapil stayed on track to lead a lap, as does Boris Said. After that, the lineup will be Clint Boyer, David Reagan, Casey Kane, and Carl Edwards. 119 laps complete, 81 to go in the Daytona 500. Sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're smart, and this time Jimmy Johnson was both. The caution flag had just waved for John Andretti's crash when we heard this conversation with Jimmy Johnson, his spotter, and his crew chief.
Turn 2, outside. I've got a right front flag, guys, coming to you right now. Coming to you right now. Pits are going to be closed, bud. Pits are going to be closed. Are you sure it's flat? Oh, God, yeah, it's flat. I don't want, it's already done some damage. Slow it down, my man. Got a lot of time. Slow down. Guys, we'll just knock that tire off, change right side tires, get a look at the damage here. I can see the cowl flap is up.
That was a perfect whirl right there. I mean, he feels the tire going down. He's in turn 4. He's not that far away from the entrance to pit road, and you saw the caution lights come on for John Andretti. when you got it, you got it.
Yeah, and they're putting the bear bond on, and you can see that back of the cowl flap looked like some rubber may have come out of there, but I don't see any really serious damage to the fenders or anything. I think it was all underneath.
Now, Mike mentioned the pits was closed. Of course, his penalty for pitting before the pits were open will be tail end along this line, but trust me, had the caution not come out for John Andretti, the 48 would have been the caution.
Everybody's made their stops under this, the fourth caution flag of the day. Let's get our DirecTV head-to-head knockout pit whip. Steve.
Mike, it's been a tough day for the four-time and defending champion Jimmie Johnson. This is the right front tire that just came off the 48 car. Don't believe they made any other contact with another car, but this is the tire that came off. Prior to this, they had a slow stop on pit road, Dick Berggren.
It's been a great day for second-generation driver David Reagan. He is now in the third position, working with a virtually totally new crew to him. New car chief, new crew chief, new guys over the wall, and it's working just perfectly, Krista.
Well, Dick, speaking of crew, that is exactly who Carl Edwards is thrilled with. They started 27th, they're up to 5th. One of the reasons his pit crew has been stellar. This was a stickler. This was a focal point for Carl in the offseason to improve the crew. 2 new tire changers and a new jackman. Carl Edwards is very happy. Matt?
Krista, back in the pre-race show, Mark Martin, our pole sitter, talked about just how unpredictable this race is going to be and his concern about getting caught in the back and not being able to work his way back to the front. And that's pretty much what's happened. He's been fighting a balance issue. First part of the race, the car was tight. Now he's been fighting rear grip. Now, Alan Gustafson made a wedge adjustment on the last stop, but right now he's just slowly trying to work his way back to the front and have a shot at winning his first ever Daytona 500. Mike?
Thanks, Matt. 121 laps complete. DirecTV head-to-head knockout is something new. Here we'll have drivers running one-on-one. You'll be able to form your brackets and pick your drivers that you think will advance in the head-to-head knockout that all comes to a head at Darlington, South Carolina. You can win a limited edition Mustang GT, or if you get your whole bracket right, you might win $1 million to get DirecTV now. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Under caution in Daytona. 80 laps to go. 78 laps to go. Under a break here for track repair. When you pave a racetrack, beginning at the bottom of the apron, you lay the pavement in courses about 12 feet wide, and that creates a seam right where those safety workers are standing, and some of the asphalt in that seam between the lowest and the next course has come up.
Well, what happens with these race cars, and we've seen it more this year than any other year I can remember, these cars are porpoising more through the dips. And when they do, when the car comes down, there are parts underneath that race car, like a cross member or headers or, you know, bell housings, all kind of things under there that can hit the racetrack. And apparently it's dug up a piece of the racetrack.
You can see the seam there right along where that safety worker, you can see the first seam right here and the second. Casey Kane riding around under caution. Talked to his crew about it.
Yeah, it's a big chunk. Like the track's gone right there.
Is it in the track or is it on the apron?
Yeah, it's right on the first, you know, the first paving line at the top of that line. So it's about, what, 14 feet off the white line or off the yellow line?
Yeah, it sounds like a real bad spot.
Yeah, definitely.
So the race has been red flagged. The cars have been brought down pit road. There's a NASCAR official stationed at each car. No work is allowed to be done. The drivers are to stay in their cars. The patchwork is completed, and much has happened in April 2004 at Martinsville, Virginia, when a chunk of concrete came up entering turn number 3. They made the patch. Takes about 10 or 12 minutes to set up, and then we're back to racing. Meantime, let's check with Steve Burns.
And Mike, under caution as the cars were still circling the racetrack. Chad Knaus and Jimmie Johnson talked about this mysterious flat tire, and it may have something to do with this racetrack.
Jimmy, is there anything maybe like with that patch? Did you maybe hit that patch on the racetrack that maybe could have damaged that tire or anything like that?
Man, that particular lap, I did go to the bottom
to make sure I was down to pit for and come back around. I didn't feel it hit anything though, or I'm confused.
And Chad Canals just took another look at that race tire before climbing on top of the pit box. Let's go back to the Hollywood Hotel.
All right, thanks, Steve Burns. Last time this track was paved, 1978. In August of 78, there are plans to repave the Daytona track here at the Daytona International Speedway coming up next year. 122 laps. This is earlier action with Brad Keselowski because of a tire problem. Who knows? Could have been track related. 2 of the 3 Penske cars taken out. 6 cars involved in this wreck. Carl Edwards, he may not know quack, but he does know how to avoid a wreck in his Aflac Ford, somehow weaving his way through that. And after a round of pit stops, fan favorite Dale Earnhardt Jr. said he didn't really need to pit, but it got him out in front. He got the lead for 4 laps of this race. The guy who led the most laps, Kurt Busch, in his Penske Dodge, leading 33 laps in the race. Joe Nemechek, one of those single-car owner-driver teams with a spin out here, right in front of Sam Hornish Jr. The other single-car owner-driver team, Robbie Gordon, actually has led a lap as well. And welcome inside the Hollywood Hotel. Glad you're with us for NASCAR on Fox and the Daytona 500. So we have a timeout for the track. How can drivers benefit given the situation here? 122 laps in and 78 to go.
Well, the one thing about it now, these guys can sit there and they can talk back and forth to their crew chiefs for an extended period of time and maybe figure out something about their race car. They got time to basically put everything in a perspective that maybe the next time they come down pit road, they'll make exactly the right adjustment to get their car to the front and keep it there.
How much is that in a driver or a crew chief's mind? We heard him talking about the track as we go over these final 78 laps, and you're going to see, as you know, the drivers, it becomes more intense because you're getting closer to the finish.
Yeah, well, you see right there is Steve Addington. He's kind of looking around. Chad Canals, again, he is the man right now as far as making decisions on pit road. But the cool thing about this patchwork that they're going to put together, this epoxy, it will set up real quick. The guys can kind of figure out whether they want to straddle it or run above it. I don't think it's going to be a problem for them. Again, it's just something that's happened, and I applaud NASCAR for making a quick repair because it could affect the outcome of the 500 if they didn't.
You want that level playing field. It was Dale Earnhardt Jr., though, who said, I like the bumps. If you ask us guys, we said the bumps are cool. This is different, though, than what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're sitting in there with Dale Earnhardt Jr. inside that number 88 car. And, I think he's run really well today. I think this is a great time for him to be able to sit there and talk to Lance McGrew and discuss all the things and all the problems they've got. They still got just a little less than halfway to go, but now's the time to get the car right.
We have Clint Boyer leading, followed by David Reagan, Casey Kane, and then Carl Edwards, and then Elliott Sadler. And what of Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, some of the guys, even Jeff Gordon?
Again, I think the strategy with Mark Martin and a lot of these guys is just trying to save their equipment to the end. They don't want to use it up too quick, but I want to look at the top of that leaderboard. If you notice, we have a Chevrolet up front, but we got a lot of Fords at the top of that list right now. And Larry McReynolds and Darrell have been talking about the Fords have handled really well during the entire speed week, so I'm not one bit surprised to see him kind of rising to the top.
Should be a dramatic finish. We've had 2 of the last 3 Daytona 500s decided by a last lap pass, and already 33 lead changes, guys. 18 leaders, Mike, in this race, and that ties a Daytona 500 record.
So that means, Chris, we've seen a lot of people moving back and forth. But, Darrell, one thing we have not seen today that we've seen all week leading up to today, a lot of 3-wide racing. We saw Mark Martin get caught in that sucker hole and pushed to the back, but not too much 3-wide other than that.
Yeah, and I hope all you folks at home right now are getting ready because we're getting ready to have a shootout. We've had 500 miles, so these guys are kind of playing the game right now, but it's getting ready to get real intense, and that 3-wide will turn into 4-wide before this is over with, I promise.
Larry, we've seen a little 2 tires and no tires, but generally everybody wants 4 tires when they come to pit road.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been seeing them come to pit road with less than 10 laps on their tires to grab those 4 tires. And now with 34 cars left on the lead lap and less than 80 laps to go, the opportunity to make adjustments on that car is getting smaller and smaller. And I still said it. I said it at the top of the show. I think these boys are going to go back to their roots before this thing's over with, and it may be on that last lap.
And you run out of patience. I mean, this little break here is a really good thing for the drivers because it gives them a chance to take a deep breath and kind of relax a little bit and get ready for the second half, if you will.
Sure.
But you run out of patience, particularly get late in the race when the money's on the line.
Daytona 500, bit of a halftime break here with 78 laps to go. Casey Kane doffs the helmet to cool off just a little bit. We'll have a chance to talk to some folks along pit road. Steve Burns.
Mike, just talking to Lance McGrew, and Lance, and I heard your drivers say that. No, I heard him say this track was loose, which was fun but not necessarily productive. Can you make enough adjustments to get to the front?
I think so. I mean, our teammates are actually struggling with tight race cars and when our car is free, so we're trying to figure out exactly how much of adjustment to make. We made a little bit of adjustment right there. We're within one stop of being able to go the distance, obviously, so you know, we're trying to take the Amp Energy National Guard Chevrolet up to the front.
Thank you, Lance. Let's go to Matt.
And one of the cars that was definitely a rocket ship earlier on the race was the 2 of Kurt Busch. And then the last run, he said it's the tightest it's been all speed week. Was that more of a product of just gas only?
I think so. And plus, he slid the tires pretty hard coming in on that gas and go there. And I don't know whether that had anything to do with it, but that's the first time we've been in that situation since we've been down here, and we put fuel only in it, and it got really tight on us. So we got it straightened back out here. We did a little bit of wedge here and put 4 new Goodyears on here, and we'll see if we can get back to the front.
A little top off too, fuel mileage wise. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I think we're good to go on one more stop, you know, and that'll cover us on the green, white checkers, I believe, and we should be in good shape. Miller Lite Dodge has been flying down here this week, so I'm real optimistic that we can get back to the front and go for the win.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Krista?
Well, one of the other cars that's been a player all day long has been Casey Kane in that number 9. Kenny Francis, crew chief. Casey said his car is loose but really fast. What do you need to do from here on out to that machine?
Well, he's pretty happy with how the Budweiser Ford's handling. It's just a little bit free, but he kind of likes that. We tried to tighten it up a little bit earlier, and then we kind of went back to where we started. So, you know, I think it's just going to be a matter of getting in the right place at the right time, kind of survive to the end, and then, you know, just try to be in the right place at the right time. Because he said, you know, earlier there he got kind of shuffled back a little. He said the car is still fast. It's just a matter of getting in the right place and working your way back up. But, you know, I imagine as we get closer to the end, it'll get a little more intense racing. But I feel like it's been pretty good so far.
All right, thanks. Dick Bergeron?
Crew Chief Donnie Wingo turned 50 yesterday, and so far his driver, David Reagan, and his pit crew have given him the best possible birthday present. You are all the way up to second spot, but we have a lot of laps to go, Donnie. How will you play your cards for the rest of the event?
Yeah, it's a long way to go. I mean, the car has been really good all day. The UPS Ford Fusion is, you know, the balance on the car has been really good. We've just made some minor changes all day, and it seems like it gets a little freer as the runs go on, so we've been kind of creeping up on that a little bit. But right now the balance is real good, just trying to stay up front.
Things look very good for him so far, Mike.
Thanks, Dick. Red flag, 78 laps to go. A bit of track repair due in large part to the heavy rains we've had here in Florida over the last week or so.
I'm watching these guys and they're sitting in their race cars, but I'm always fascinated by the seat technology. These are carbon fiber seats, and every one of them are custom made to that driver. They make a mold and then they build the seat. And not only does that make the seat the safest seats we've ever had, also makes them the most comfortable seats we've ever had. That's why these guys, they're not in any hurry. You know, back in the day, you wanted to jump out of that thing and stretch your legs and stretch your back a little bit. I was noticing David Reagan, he looked like he's about to fall asleep. Every one of these guys look like they're just kind of chilled out. There you go. He's taking a little nap. Of course, he's been in 2 other events here yesterday, so that's pretty serious little nap, a power nap.
But Darryl, you know, we talk about safer barriers, we talk about head and neck restraint devices, but the seat technology has a lot to do with the fact that guys can walk away from some of the crashes like Dale Earnhardt Jr. had yesterday, Ryan Newman at Talladega, Carl Edwards in the spring Talladega race.
78 to go here, but we're just getting started with our 10th season of NASCAR on Fox. One of our favorite 500s, 1989.
Driver Darrell Waltrip, wife Stevie.
I won the Daytona 500. I won the Daytona 500.
Darrell, how long?
Wait. This is the Daytona 500, isn't it?
You bet it
Don't tell me it isn't. Thank God.
Who would have thought?
Ever the comedian.
No, but who
even in
thought?
victory lane. I saw you climb out of that car with that gleam in your eye. And I said, I've lost control of this show, haven't I?
I'm a happy camper that day, buddy. And who would have thought you'd be in there with me?
We got a lot going on pit road. You see, Matt Kenseth has brought that 17 car into the attention of Drew Blickensderfer and that crew. They are changing the front shocks. we're getting a report from Matt Yoakum that under the front end of this 14 car, they're putting like a pan underneath the front. You heard Tony say in his interview his car would not turn. I think they're anticipating that's only going to get worse as the track cools down. So that's what they're doing. And we also got a report that Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 88 group, came in and actually pulled a rubber out of one of the springs, softened the rate of that rear spring.
Yeah, I think what everybody's anticipating, Larry, is there's going to be a lot more grip out there now. They were trying to free the cars. They didn't want the cars to be loose. Now, when it was hot, I think now that the track is cooled down, we pick up a lot of grip. You can suck that nose back down. Going to have a lot better balanced race car.
Most of the top 15 did not stop. Now, drivers who are ahead of the leader when the caution comes out get a chance to be waved around the pace car and pick up a lap. Brad Keselowski, Sam Hornish have taken advantage of that. Let's go downstairs, check with Steve.
Jimmie Johnson just hit pit road again, Mike. First time they took 4 tires, added some tape to that grill, and made a chassis adjustment. This time it came back down. The car did. Ron Malik, the car chief, took a look at the right front fender. They just topped off with a little bit of gas. Jimmy's going to have to start from the rear of the field.
Hey, Daryl and Larry, you were talking about during this halftime break, a lot of times you get an opportunity to make good decisions. You also have an opportunity to make bad decisions. When you see the 14 put this belly pan under it, you see the 17 changing front shocks. Just remember one thing, 76 laps from now, they're going to crown this 500 champion. You go the wrong way, you're never going to have a chance to undo what you do.
Yeah, that's a good thing about this break. You know, we got a chance. Jimmie Johnson is the beneficiary of this whole deal. Because just when that caution came out, he's got a tire and he's got a front end messed up, but they've been able to fix it. He's back in the race. He's the guy that benefited the most.
After an hour and 40-minute red flag for track repair, we are ready to go back to racing. 76 laps to go. Clint Bowyer, David Reagan, Casey Kane, Carl Edwards. Bowyer has elected the inside lane on this restart, and there are 34 cars on the lead lap.
Whoopee! I feel like saying boogity, boogity, boogity one more time, but I guess I won't.
But you better reach up there and pull your belts tight one more time.
You got that right, brother.
Pace cars in. This crowd has enjoyed a big halftime break, and now we'll have 75 laps to race in the Daytona 500. Clint Bowyer leads them across the line. We're racing again.
He got a pretty good push from Casey Kane, the 9 car, but David Reagan in the 6 got a pretty good push from his teammate Carl Edwards in the 99 on the high side.
Dead even right there as they go down into turn 1. Neither line's really got any move. Looks like they're going over the patch. So far, so good.
Looking at Clint Bowyer, and here comes Harvick, giving the push and shove to Elliott Sadler into turn 3.
That's all these boys needed was a little timeout.
Yeah, you just wait. This is going to get real serious. They'll be 3 wide. There's going to be some heavy-duty racing going on from here on out.
Clint Bowyer's in his 5th Daytona 500. He's your race leader. Had 2 top 10 finishes in his first 4 500s. Won a nationwide race here last July. Looking for his 3rd Sprint Cup Series career victory.
And you saw the highlights where a couple of 3 years ago he went across the start-finish line at the end of the race on his roof.
You know, I'm not so sure several years ago that if a hole had come in a track like that, we'd probably, I don't know if we'd have been able to fix it or not.
Elliott Sadler with Casey Kane. Earlier in the race, Kane was complaining that Sadler kind of left him high and dry. Now it's Sadler who's helping out his his Richard Petty Motorsports teammate.
Lurking, ever so presently in 3rd place, Kevin Harvick.
And you can see the speeds are higher now that the track has cooled down. 193 going off into turn 1.
Watch him go down the back. Of course, the guy, you know, I just noticed one thing, Larry. We do have a tad of a headwind down the back today. So that'll hurt the speeds a little bit. But look at Casey. Look at his eyes. He's just worried about one thing. Not where he's going. He's not even looking where he's going. Looking behind him. Who's going to make a move? Who's going to jump out? Which way do I need to go?
He's got it right. He's still 1 back in the middle. 1 back in the middle.
Now watch the glare off turn 4 here for right there, just for a little bit.
And Casey's one of the few drivers we saw with a clear face shield, so he's got no protection from that sun.
Maybe he was anticipating a late finish.
There's your 3 wide, DW. Brian Vickers in 83,
oh, yeah.
but he's not where he wants to be in the middle.
No, but there's going to be a whole lot more of that 3 wide stuff, because the guys are going to experiment a little bit and find out, hey, I can hang in there now.
You know, we got some guys at the back of the pack, like Matt Kenseth, who changed the shocks, like Jimmy Johnson in the 48. They just ran their fastest lap of this race. Brian Vickers just sitting there waiting for his spotter to either say clear high or clear low.
Well, it's a whole lot more. It's not comfortable to be in the middle like that, because you get pushed and shoved from both sides, one way to the other.
Middle, no help. Quick hold there, but 82 spilling, still middle.
And you're kind of stuck there. What are you going to do?
And Matt Kenseth just ran the fastest lap of the day. 195.2 miles an hour.
I think Vickers filled that hole.
Yeah, man. Good thing there wasn't any more paint on the back of that 00.
See, Casey Kane in the 9 is now back up behind Clint Boyer in that 33. Boyer's wanting the lead back.
Man, those children's cars are strong today. I mean, all 3 of them.
And in the 29, Harvick did just what he said would be difficult. Fight his way through those half dozen or so Fords and get up to where he can either help or challenge his teammate Boyer in the 33. Krista has more on Casey Kane.
Yeah, Mike, you know, drivers choose going with drivers that they think will be there at the finish. Casey told me earlier today that down here at Speed Weeks, he feels like more people have been pushing him than in the 6 previous years he's been here combined. He says it's that Ford motor. They know he has the strength. He said, I don't know if we're a favorite, but I think we definitely have a shot, the best shot I've ever had here.
Speaking of shots, the 6 car just gave that 9 a shot getting off into turn 3, and you could see how it just lunged him off in the corner.
Yeah, Casey says it's kind of fun looking in the mirror and seeing people lining up behind you instead of being the other way around. He's really happy with his car, how it's running.
Kane won on Thursday in his Gatorade dual race. He's had a very strong car all week. Previously, his best efforts resulted in 2 7th-place finishes in the 500. Maybe today he'll be the Pied Piper.
And you know those cars that Casey and Elliott are driving in Allmendinger, those are the cars that they had. They just changed the fascia, put a Ford motor in it, and took off racing with the same car they ended up the year with.
Is your trigger finger itchy on the volume control? What do you say?
Let's crank it up.
Two-thirds of the way through the Daytona 500. Clint Boyer driving a Chevy for Richard Childress Racing, battling Elliott Sadler in the 19. driving a Ford for Richard Petty Motorsports.
And Mike, if folks at home, if you don't think weather and track temperature makes a difference in how these guys race and how these cars handle, we didn't see this kind of racing when the sun was out and it was 80 degrees, track temperature was 80 degrees. Now that it's cooled down, these guys can go where they want to and do it pretty confidently.
Kevin Harvick gives Sadler the bump and run into turn number 3.
But watch that 33 and the Casey Kane come back on the outside. That power move, Mike, into turn 3, that's a winning move.
But it's amazing to see the Richard Petty Motorsports Dodge of Casey Kane pushing the Richard Childress car. On the inside, it's the Richard Childress car pushing the Richard Petty Motorsports forward.
Pretty much at this point, Larry, you just push whoever's in front of you. That doesn't matter who it is right now.
And as long as they're pushing you to the front, it doesn't matter.
Just keep pushing.
And the best part for these nearly 200,000 fans that are here, and those of you watching at home, no single car has been able to break away, much less establish a single file lead.
Now this is what we've seen down here for the last week. The way these guys have just bunched up like this and stayed together and 3 wide racing a lot, and that's hard to do here at Daytona. And one thing they've learned, Mike, is that with this bigger restrictor plate, we were having a little bit of an issue with closing rate early in the week when we first got here. Guys were running in the back of each other and actually wrecking each other. But they finally figured that out, that these cars close much quicker than what they have down here in the past. And now they're working together very, very well.
You know,
whoa, Elliott. Man, he got sideways there. That's.
I think he may have had a little help on getting that sideways there for that 29 car.
I think he just went.
Kevin Harvick started that bump draft before they were in the straightaway.
Ooh, he should have got down.
When Sadler had to lift, he lost his momentum, and now he finds a place in line well outside the top 10.
No, Larry, I don't think he got bumped, but when you come off a 2 over there real low like he was, the car wants to push out. You put a little extra wheel in it to keep it on the bottom, and then the back will snap around. I think that's what happened to him.
Yeah, Mike, he almost fell completely out of the top 15. He's back to 14th, finally found a hole right in front of Mark Martin, the 5 car.
Look at the 43 right in the center of your picture. A.J. Allmendinger had a lug nut problem on a pit stop early. The Dingers fought his way back up into the top 10, but it's a roadblock in front of him. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Nowhere to go to get to the front.
No, but that Napa car, I mean, Martin Truex Jr. has been lurking around the front here, Larry, the last little bit just for that break we had, and here he is sitting there in 3rd spot. That car looks pretty strong.
You know, somebody we've not talked to about a lot today, and here's that car you were talking about, Truex Jr., that's back in 3rd. The other Richard Childress car has worked his way into the top 10, Jeff Burton in that 31.
Burton led every practice that we had. Burton was at the top of the sheet, but they had a little tire issue in their qualifying race, and I don't know, I hope they got it fixed.
Kevin Harvick, who has won the Daytona 500, has fought his way to the front. 62 laps to go. 59 laps to go. Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex, Clint Boyer, your Old Spice man up, are the biggest movers. Jeff Gordon up 32 from where he started. Carl Edwards 31 spots. Old Spice body wash. Smell like a man, man. 58 laps to go and at least one more pit stop.
Oh, trouble back there on the back straight.
Allmendinger in the 43. Caution is out.
And he stays off the wall. Nice save. And a wild slide by A.J. Allmendinger.
I think we'll see him.
Can you get rolling there?
Possibly
Yellow
get a little
out.
push.
Leaders are just into 3.
A little unburned gasoline in the exhaust pipe, no big deal.
That won't hurt anything, but I think he's stuck in the mud. Look at the front tires. I mean, he's down. The splitter sitting on the track, on the ground.
Well, there's probably a good chance not only is he stuck there, he's probably got flat tires on that thing from where he slid across the racetrack.
As we've said, heavy rains in Florida over the last couple of weeks. Friday was a complete washout here. And with the high water table throughout the state of throughout the Florida Peninsula, not a lot of places for that standing water to go. So the grass there is pretty soft in a lot of areas. Allmendinger was running 6th. Let's see what happened to the 43.
Coming off of turn 2 back there. I think you're going to see that he just gets sucked around. That's all that happens to him. And he's getting a little bit behind on his steering right there. And what happened was, we've seen that with this. I don't know if it has anything to do with the big shark fin or not. But when a car gets to your outside like that, it's almost like it has a magnet. It's almost like a vacuum cleaner. And it just sucks you around.
See here if he puts a left front down on the apron exiting the corner.
I don't think so, and that's not a bad thing off of that corner anyway.
It's like the minute that 24 car got to that right rear quarter panel, it started sucking it around.
Yeah. It just gets him loose, and he just starts juking the wheel, and you get behind. And
the close call on that 18. How many of those has he had this week? He's had a bunch.
I don't know, but I love it. I wish that whole back straightaway was paved like that right there. Just that grass back there will catch you. See, the car got loose. When you say he got down on it, it got a little bit loose and it kind of dipped down. But man, look at Kyle. Woo. And Allmendinger, he's doing all he can. He'll get off the brake right here.
Watching from Carl Edwards.
Green is still out. Yellow's out.
That's just how much on the edge you are. When you're running beside of somebody, that's how much on the edge you are.
The pits are open. 57 laps to go. Under the 5th caution of the day. Krista?
Kenny Francis told his crew, make sure you are loosened up. It's been a while during that red flag since they did a stop, especially the new front changer and the rear changer. John Royer and Jim Carbon, new on this team. Casey happy with this car. Dick?
Where it needed to be, they're going to do a routine 4-tire stop with no chassis adjustments.
Kevin Harvick says he's just a touch too loose, so they're going to add some air to that left rear tire. Matt?
A chassis and wedge adjustment, the track bar and wedge for Clint Boyer, trying to keep up with the racetrack as temperatures go down. 4th tire change. Hesitation, and he's away.
Elliott Sadler gains 10 spots. David Reagan got blocked in his pit, couldn't get out.
But you see, Elliott Sadler, that 19 car took 2 tires only, 2 right side.
43, A.J. Allmendinger from Kyle Busch's car goes for a wild ride. .55 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Number 19, Elliott Sadler, is your leader. Jeff Gordon elected the first pit stall. Just in front of him, Travis Kvapil. Gordon has to wheel it and deal it to get out of that pit. And here's Clint Boyer.
It really got bottled up down here near the exit of pit road. You can see how much Carl Edwards had to jump on the binders. Even thought maybe he got into the back of the 33 just a little bit.
Boyer will restart 6th, Edwards 7th. Jeff Gordon is 5th. 2nd, Martin Truex, and 3rd, Kevin Harvick. 4th, Casey Kane. 55 laps to go. There will be one more pit stop, but here we go, back under green.
See, Elliott Sadler in the 19 has elected to take the outside line. That puts his teammate right behind him, Casey Kane, the 9.
Yeah, I think that was probably a good choice, because those 2 cars have been trying. If you think about it, they've been trying to get hooked up since the start of the race. Remember, Casey was upset with Elliott because he wouldn't work with him early in the day.
Kevin Harvick trying to push his way to an opening to get in front of Martin Truex.
I'm just not real sure you're going to get by Martin Truex all that easy. I've been watching that car, and it's gotten better and better and better. But now, you know.
Oops. Yellow line. Get up above that yellow line. And Kevin Harvick does.
As long as Harvick did what he did right there, did not advance his position, because that is out of bounds. And if you advance your position, they're going to bring you to pit road for a pass through.
Just had a great run there, but nowhere to go with it. That's why we have the yellow line rule. Just think what that would look like if those guys had gone to the bottom and went into the 3rd turn like that.
I believe we'd have run out of racetrack when we got there.
We run out of records too.
54 laps to go. We go California dreaming next Sunday with NASCAR on Fox. But here in Daytona, Elliott Sadler, who came within 1 green flag lap of winning last year's 500 before the rain came, and Martin Truex in his first ride for Michael Waltrip Racing in this Toyota. But look at Harvick give Truex the bump into turn 3 that propels him in front of the field.
Yeah, that's what he and Boyer were trying to do last time down through there. We ran out of room in the 9 car. Whoa, what happened to him, guys?
He got kicked up to the high side with no place to go. He finally works his way back in line behind Brian Vickers in the 83.
Well, the Truex family ought to be standing up and cheering. The number 56, a number that Martin's dad run. It's a family number. And that was why that they swapped, took the 55 and gave him 56. Carry on a tradition, baby.
Yep, Barney Truex is Martin's uncle. This is Martin Sr., who raced up in the NASCAR North Series, the Busch North Series, and won with this number at Loudon, New Hampshire and elsewhere. And now Martin Jr. wheeling Michael Waltrip's car and trying to keep it in front of Kevin Harvick and the 19 of Elliott Sadler.
You know, I wondered about the combination of Pat Tryson and Martin Truex Jr., what that would be like if they were able, you know, if they would work well together. I think my question's been answered.
A record 52 Daytona 500s, and we've never had as many different drivers lead this race as we have today.
We still have 25% of this race to go.
Through the long shadows of turn 1 at the west end of the speedway. Down the backstretch and headed for the 31-degree banking on the ocean side of the track, turn 3.
Boy, just watch those cars, though, how they just pick up so much speed down the back straightaway. With the little bit bigger restrictor plate, they can really, really fly down the back.
And today, as Thursday and last Saturday night, the 29 of Kevin Harvick appears to have the most speed that he's able to carry and keep into turn number 3 from the backstretch.
Yeah, I think actually Boyer, his teammate, is having a hard time keeping up with him. That Kevin's car just handles a little bit better right around the bottom. See that? See how he gaps the 33 car?
Now you see Elliott Sadler, the 19, that we sat up here during the commercial break and just questioned, was just going with 2 right side tires the way to go. And I just think he's had his hands full with that race car, and I think he really has his hands full now against all these cars with 4 fresh tires. Look at this
Junior
push.
shoving the 16 of Greg Biffle, and you see how he let off just before they got to turn 3 in the corner.
I think that was about 16 hands full right there.
Well, it looked like it's hard to do with these cars because the bumpers match that the 16 was lifted off the ground for a minute.
3 wide.
Straight, that's the main thing. I think these guys have finally realized, hey, this track's got that grip back in it like we've seen here all week, and they're going after it now, and I knew they would.
I think someone else has realized something. That 11 car, look, boy, Elliott Sadler's just all over the place in that 19. He cannot find a place to get right now.
No, he's going to get wrecked if he doesn't get out of the way here.
Casey Kane and the 17 of Matt Kenseth almost got taken out in that corner.
There is not much substitute here. Horsepower, maybe. You see Elliott, Elliott is waving, he's flagging to get away from me, leave me alone.
Matt?
Mike, earlier when he got dropped out of the lead and fell to the back, he said the car was just way too loose to be running up front. He got back up front with the track position. The car's still way too loose. He's just hanging on in the 19.
Yeah, when you change just right side tires, it can sometimes tighten your car up, but it can sometimes, depending on how it's handling, can make it even looser.
48 laps to go. Larry, how many more laps do they have to run before they can make that stop under green that they need and still make it to the finish without stopping again?
Well, I would normally say about lap 160 with 40 to go, but think back to what interviewing Steve Addington. We have to think about a possible 3 attempts at a green-white checkered, so I think to safely you need to get to about lap 164 to feel real good about it.
And I'm feeling real good about probably more than 1 attempt at a green-white checker. The way these guys have been racing down here. This is a gaggle right here.
I tell you who else has realized that this race is winding down. We talked to him during the red flag. Looks like Denny Hamlin in an 11 car. Him and his crew chief Mike Ford has finally concluded. Boys, it's time to go. Look at him on the high side right behind his teammate Kyle Busch in the 18.
Montoya kicked upstairs.
It looks like that 56 car doesn't handle so good in traffic. That thing is wobbling all over the place.
Remember what Harvick said? Get me out front and I'm gone.
Well,
we'll see.
Bye-bye.
It's been 107 races since Bakersfield, California's Kevin Harvick has been in victory lane in a Sprint Cup point race. And that was the Daytona 500 when he drove to victory here, beating Mark Martin in a wild finish. But Harvick's in front. Montoya in second, the 42, Greg Biffle, Clint Boyer, Carl Edwards.
Well, all I know is when I look at our top 8 to 10 right now, we got a long way to go, but we've got a lot of guys up there that went winless in 2009 that would love to start this 2010 season off with a win.
What makes Harvick so good is it kind of reminds me back like Dale Jr. when he was dominant down here. He can run the turn. He's just quicker through the corner than the guys behind him. He can get just enough gap on them that they can barely catch back up to him when he gets down here at the end of the back straightaway.
Earnhardt and Kyle Busch are back in play, running 8th and 9th. Carl Edwards in the 99, winless last year. He's 6th, or 7th rather. Ooh. Was that contact between the 6 of Reagan and the 48 of Jimmy Johnson?
Yeah, you see, look at the left front tire on the 48. They definitely have come together. I don't see any tire smoke, but I don't see any letters on the tire either.
Do need to make note that A.J. Allmendinger, the 43 car that led this race, brought out one of those last cautions.
Caution.
In fact,
Don't know why. Caution.
The yellow is out. And we believe that this may be again for the asphalt down between turn 1 and 2. Very adjacent to or the same area as where the patch was put down before. So with Kevin Harvick leading, Juan Montoya second. We are under caution, and we'll have a look at the rundown and await further word. You're watching the Daytona 500 on Fox.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. The gang is all here. The Hollywood Hotel. You got to look from above as the cars, the engines are getting ready to be cranked up. Our second red flag here. What's Mike got there? He's holding.
That's the local paper, Chris,
okay.
And the headline here, just above the fold. Anything can happen. They didn't anticipate this.
Here's what can happen. I've had breakfast in here, I've had lunch in here, and I've had dinner in here.
I was a little afraid that was the Monday morning paper he was holding.
Yeah, Dewey wins.
Yeah, there we go.
Truman, not so much. All right, we have a larger asphalt patch, and I wonder, is it worth telling the drivers? You drive through this, we can race a while. You drive around it, we can race all the way to the checkered flag.
Well, Tony Stewart, you know, at Eldora, when they race over there, they just run through potholes like that. But of course, they're not doing 190 miles an hour either.
A final check over of the epoxy patch over some loose asphalt due to the torrential rains.
Is it done yet?
Here in Florida, and I think it's cooked.
That's all we need to know. Run that truck through it one time. Let's see what happens.
No, don't do that. Well, we're ready to race. We've got 39 laps to go, and everybody knows you make your pit stop, and then this could be go for broke right here.
Yeah, but the one thing that concerns me is these 2 red flags, you know, shutting the engines down. And then I've been looking at the weather here. You know, it just keeps getting colder and colder and colder. And of course that puts these engines in leaner and leaner condition. So I've got to believe there's going to be about 40 engine builders that are going to be nail biting these last 30 or 40 laps.
What worries me is some guys are sitting over there figuring out how to beat themselves, because they're going out there, sitting down there now. They got too much time to think.
Oh, no question.
You know, you want it to, everything happens spontaneously. And when the race is stopped like this, way too much time to think about strategy.
So it's 50-50. The track temperature and the ambient temperature is 50 degrees, which means it's about the way it was when we ran final practice.
Oh, yeah.
Very close
the other
to
day.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
very close to it.
Oh, it makes for great racing. If we can get through this deal down there, if this patch will hold up for us for 38 laps, we're going to see some of the best racing we've seen all week.
Let's say the patch holds for 38 laps. You've got over 30 cars that are going to be in that lead pack. We're used to seeing 5 or 6 cars race for the Daytona 500 win. How do you get 30 cars into a spot where only 2 are going to fit on this last lap?
It's simple. You don't. You don't get them in there. They don't fit.
And I would say there's a good chance you saw the yellow flag out. That's probably not the last time we're going to see that yellow flag as we close in on the end of the Daytona 500.
I think not.
33 cars on the lead lap, 39 laps to go. When they come around, if pit road opens, they'll make what they hope will be the final pit stop of the day and evening.
And then the pit crew, see, that's another thing, and I'm a little, you know, I'm surprised Hammond hadn't brought this up. But these guys have been sitting down there getting cold and stiff, and you know, with the crews have got to come to the light up and come to the occasion here too, because it's a critical pit stop.
And this is when you need that 13-second pit stop, because track position now is paramount.
Oh yeah, if you have a problem in the pits and you fall back 15th, 20th place, you're probably done.
Yeah, you need a fast stop, but you need a mistake-free stop.
Larry, these pit crews practice year-round in all kind of weather. Some teams 5 days a week. Anytime they're not on the road, they're running pit crew practice. And we see folks, you know, jumping up and down, getting a little heat, getting ready to go. It's like, okay, put me in, coach.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're absolutely like athletes, and we continue to see Tony Stewart pretty much left his position on pit road straight into his pit box. They're making adjustments on the rear, possibly spring rubbers, maybe adjusting those rear shocks. And as Jeff Hammond pointed out earlier, they continue to make adjustments under the nose of that car.
And with all the time to sit around and talk about it, that's what they're doing, Larry. They're back there closing up those rear shocks, probably trying to get this thing where he can drive it.
As the drivers buckle in for this final run, buckle up for fantasy racing action and take the checkered flag every week. You build a championship team while staying within a salary cap. Choose 5 drivers before the green flag drops and challenge your friends. Log on to Auto Racing Challenge at foxsports.com, keyword auto.
And you know, Shane Wilson and Clint Boyer, they're in a little bit of a box. We've got 33 cars on the lead lap, and we're going to have about 35 laps to go. And I challenge Clint that I believe that big bite out of that splitter is going to make a difference the way that car drives, but they don't want to give up all that track position to try to repair it.
You can't. I mean, right now is not the time to fix that. You just got to, you got what you got. You know, stay behind somebody. And then when the time comes, pass them.
Yeah, it won't be near as bad following someone as when you get out in clean air.
That's not a great big piece out there.
There are 3 cars who are in the top 10 now that were not in the top 10 at the last red flag. Kyle Busch, his teammate Denny Hamlin, and Brian Vickers. One thing the drivers have been able to do during this red flag period is change from the dark shields to clear shields for night racing. And you get a good look at the eyes of Carl Edwards. Focused, ready to race.
Pit road was closed that time. They have not opened it back up.
Yeah, again,
Joey Logano.
I just you got to admire these guys though. Here they are. They've been out here since 1 o'clock this afternoon, and they still want to race. That's how much they love what they do.
They've been waiting all winter long just to do this, just as you have at home to see it. Ready to rock. Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to admire everybody. You've got to admire the drivers, the teams, the fans, NASCAR, the track. I mean, you got to give a thumbs up to everybody involved.
Now that safety truck is there, guiding the cars out and around the patch, giving it as much time to cure as possible.
You know what I'm thinking, right?
Yes.
Just leave it there. Just park it over the patch and go around it.
Leave the truck there.
Leave the truck there.
Never mind the orange cone.
The first time he giggled, I knew exactly what he was thinking.
That's the only way they won't run over it, I promise you.
Here's Matt.
Mike, interesting conversation between Juan Pablo Montoya, who runs in second, and his crew chief, Brian Patty, discussing whether to go 2 or 4 tires. And Juan simply said, whatever call you make, Brian, I'm with you. We win together and we lose together. I'd just rather win together. Then he started laughing. He goes, seriously, you make the call when we're coming down pit road, 2 or 4. And that's exactly what a lot of teams are doing. They're waiting at the last minute to play their cards, possibly call an audible of whether to go 2 tires for track position or go 4 for the distance here.
Bad decision to take 2 at this point. Let me tell you why. You've got to be able to drive that car anywhere you need to go. You put 2 tires on there, you're going to lose a little bit of the handling of the car, and when it comes time to cut it to the bottom or run it to the top or whatever you got to do, you won't have the traction you need because you only took 2 tires.
Yeah, we've got 13 laps on the tires that's on the car, and as we made note, you're probably going to have to try to get about 35 more laps, and I think at the end it will bite these guys.
Well then, Larry, let me ask you, how far back in the running order do you have to be to think about gambling and maybe taking those 2 tires for track position?
Well, with 33, 34 cars on the lead lap, yeah, I mean, I look back there and you look at people like Ryan Newman, Paul Menard, Robbie Gordon, Bobby Labonte, Elliott Sadler even. Maybe you don't have nothing to lose.
So 25th or so on back.
Very possibly.
Well, and we can always think about our friend, the 48 car in his qualifying race. Maybe don't take any. I'm almost of the opinion I'd rather just keep the ones I got if I like the set I got on the car right now and just put some fuel in and let me go.
I'll tell you who's a gambler and for a long time had the fastest lap of the race, Robbie Gordon. It would not surprise me that whatever every other team does, he does the opposite to get track position.
And we've seen Ryan Newman in that 39 car won this race a couple of years ago. He gambled earlier and took 2 tires, so at least he knows what to expect out of it.
So what you're hearing us say is, we don't really know. It depends on your car, depends on the circumstances. Just roll the dice.
I'll have answers for you in 1 lap because pit road's going to be open this time by. We'll see who the gamblers are. Pretty safe bet that the top, say, 15 cars will likely get 4 tires to try to keep at the front and win the Daytona 500.
If you're not trying to make up for something, a car that's not handling right, a car that's not running right, a car that cannot win this race on speed, then you might gamble. But if you got a car like Kevin Harvick and some of those guys have been leading the race all day, you'll take 4 tires because you don't want to give yourself a disadvantage.
You do not want to lose this race because you didn't take 4 tires.
This makes me nervous because now I'm saying, so what if nobody takes 4 tires?
Oh, don't worry. All right, the Whelen safety lights have gone green at the front end of pit road. 36 laps to go when they come by. Kevin Harvick leads them toward pit road. Everybody should come in. What will they do? Krista.
When you walk outside your door, it's cold, you make adjustments. That's exactly what Greg Biffle's doing to his car. He said, it's colder out, guys. We've got to free it up, but just a touch. Slight air pressure. That's the call for Greg Biffle. Dick.
Martin Truex crew is going to do something different. They're not going to adjust that race car at all. Just 4 tires. Steve.
Absolutely no doubt about the 29 strategy. 4 tires for Kevin Harvick. Matt.
It's going to be a 2-tire change for the 33 and Clint Boyer chassis adjustment. Mike, who's going to win it off pit road?
It is Greg Biffle, the first car off pit road, gaining 3 positions.
Boy, Kevin Harvick made a good stop, but he couldn't get going. He was just smoking the tires trying to get rolling.
Now you see right there, Jeff Gordon, the 24, David Reagan in the 6, the big winners. It looks like right there, the top 5 cars went with just 2 right side tires.
Yeah, Gordon did.
Here's the race off pit road. Biffle first. Boyer second. Carl Edwards.
See how those guys are just spinning. They can't get going. And Harvick was actually worse than that.
That was that close.
It's always close.
Biffle had a foot down. Wasn't going to lift. That's the kind of attitude you need right now if you're going to win the Daytona 500. Work on Matt Kenseth's car.
They've been working on both ends of that race car this entire race. Had the hood up one time underneath the back.
The 14 and the 17 have just been working on, I don't know, trying to get their cars to handle, I guess.
One team that really rolled the dice is Scott Speed. Last year's rookie did not pit with the rest of the cars on the lead lap. He is still out there. The 38 of Robert Richardson also did not come down pit road. He's also a lead lap car.
Well, just think back to the qualifying races, and Max Pappas stayed out along with Jimmy Johnson, but Max's car wasn't good on he didn't take any tires, and he backed up the whole outside line and almost caused a huge crash. That's the gamble.
Let me correct on Richardson. He came down before the pits opened and got his service. While the pits were still closed, he'll have to start at the tail end of the line.
Now Jimmy Elledge, the crew chief on Scott Speed in that 82 car, they were last on pit road at lap 144 under that 5th caution. That's 56 laps to go, even with cautions. That's asking a lot right there. Evidently he's banking on more cautions.
Well, Larry, I guess the bottom line is if you're somebody, and that's what we're saying, somebody mid-packing on back, what the heck? Maybe there'll be a lot of cautions. Maybe they won't have a chance to pass me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because we know it's going to get aggressive. We know these guys are going to start pushing, shoving. When they do, there could be several cautions at the end of the race here.
Now Tony Stewart also pitted before pit road was officially open. We saw the work going on Stewart's car, so he will start tail end when we go back to green. 35 laps to go right now.
But I know why Kevin Harvick has not been bothered by that patch. When you watch his car go through the corner, he is almost down on those yellow lines, which would put that patch just to his outside. It's the guys that go in there and shove up a little bit are having maybe some issues with that patch. I don't think it's bothering Harvick that much.
Matt Kenseth back on pit road along with Joey Logano. working on the splitter on the front end of Kenseth's car.
They got an issue on the Logano car. They're having to back him up because he was actually, his right front tire was outside the pit box, and the NASCAR official, they see the man right there, was right there immediately pointing to the crew that you're outside the box.
Why does his, you know, it's the second time I think we've seen his brakes on fire.
And where you see the fire, that's exactly where the brake caliper is. So you got to believe it's something to do with the brake pads itself.
That, or else they're catching one of the ducts, maybe ducts for the brakes, but I'm not sure if you'd have any or not.
It'll blow out.
It'll go right out.
The minute he gets rolling, it goes out on its own.
It'll go right out if you get going.
So Scott Speed, who has not been on pit road since lap 144 or so, Larry, he has really rolled the dice.
Mm-hmm.
Because won't he have to make one more stop if this race goes the distance?
Yeah, because that's 56 laps to go. But I'm going to check this because our scoring monitor is telling us something different. We're going to check on that. We've got a monitor that tells us each lap that the car made their last pit stop, and get a feeling that we maybe have a score monitor glitch here.
I think so. He had to get fuel somewhere, right?
I couldn't imagine being out there right now.
No.
Ready to go back to green. It'll be 33 laps to go when they come back.
Yeah, our scoring monitor is wrong on that. The last time he was there was about, like we were talking, with about 56, 57 laps to go.
And that is too far to make it on one tank. So Scott Speed's team is betting this race will not run to conclusion without at least another caution where they can get fuel.
Now, I know that I've told him this many, many times. That's exactly where sometimes you like to be. Nobody can make it.
You interviewed a man in 1989 that was not supposed to make it.
Nobody can make 55 laps. It's never been done. It can't be
Except
done.
for 1989.
Never say never. I think the question would be more for him as fuel is just the pure speed if he could stay up there.
We're about to find out, and they have waved off the restart because a piece of debris has come off one of the race cars.
This shot right here, straightaway. This shot right here, Mike, is what my brain feels like right now. I'm going to be seeing all those pictures all night long.
So Scott Speed, who was 20th before pit stops, he is the race leader.
Now, every one of these caution laps that they run certainly helps the cause for Jimmy Elledge and Scott Speed. It's about a 2-to-1 ratio at a 2.5-mile racetrack.
Not sure about that one.
You see Regan Smith peeling off and heading toward the garage. Michael Waltrip peeling off and heading down pit road.
Regan Smith had damage, early, and I think they repaired the car, and he's back out there going around.
Yeah, he's 118 laps down, but still running. That was Michael coming to the pits.
Might as well fix the car. We're going, we've been here all afternoon, got time to repair it and get it back in the race.
Yeah, he was in that first caution back on lap 8.
Splash and go. I guess if you're in the back, no harm in doing that, since you could have as many as 3 tries at a green-white checker finish if needed.
Michael had moved up there just before this last caution flag. He was starting to move up a little bit. He's been pretty much around the 20s, but he was gotten into the teens when that last caution came out.
So Scott Speed will be the leader. His Toyota against Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards in Fords, Clint Boyer's Chevrolet, David Reagan's Ford. The rest of the top 10, Jeff Gordon, Martin Truex, Montoya, Harvick, and Kyle Busch.
Yeah, you've got the 3 Roush Fenway cars lined up in the outside line. Edwards and Reagan.
What I think we got to watch is Kevin Harvick now. He's got to get to the front, but he's got to not tear his car up doing it or cause a wreck doing it. And he's back there a little bit. He's got the best car. He just needs to take his time. The only thing that these guys are all worried about is that patch going to hold up for the rest of the race.
And Scott Speed leading on worn tires as they go through turns 1 and 2. Can he hold pace with Greg Biffle, or will he stack up that bottom groove?
Here's the other thing you got to watch on that 82 car. Will it take off? Even here at Daytona with the gears and everything, he can spin the tires, and if he does, he's in trouble.
They'll get the green with 32 laps to go in the Daytona 500.
The reason I mentioned about the tires, I haven't seen him clean them off. And you pick up a lot of debris riding around here slow like we've been doing.
Coming to the flag. Fans to their feet. Will this be the final restart of the night? Green flag.
Good start. It was a good clean start by Speed. He did a nice job.
Speed building, about 25 more miles an hour to pick up in the back straightaway.
Look at that high line right there. Those 3 Roush Fenway cars with Martin Truex Jr. in the 56, the 4th car in line.
Yeah, I really think that probably Scott Speed's biggest problem is he doesn't have enough speed to stay up there.
So far, so good.
Scott has speed. I'm not sure the car has speed.
There you go.
Biffle tries to edge ahead as now we're at full speed. Coming around, 31 to go.
Boy, these engines right now, Mike, and the cars, with as cold as the temperature has gotten, they are making some horsepower. Look at those cars bottom out. That's where that hole is, and they bottom out and dig the track up. Whoa, I see Harvick. Whoa, I saw Harvick back in there getting a little bit squirrely. Here comes his teammate Boyer on the inside. Whoa, Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin in the middle.
Whoa, Denny. Oh.
They've almost rooted Harvick up out of that line. Ruderman into 0-0, jumps in behind Harvick. Look at him, 3 wide coming through the tri-oval.
Montoya got loose. And the 11, Hamlin, stuck in the middle. He's got Brian Vickers behind him. He's got a little bit of help, but it's the outside line on the move.
That's where Harvick, right there, was a good job of just keeping your cool. Don't panic. Still got a ways to go here. You're going to be fine.
Steve Burns.
And my Kevin Harvick spotter, Billy O'Day, said, way to hang tough, man. Way to hold your line. Don't let that 11 take anything from you.
Where you saw Biffle up to 194 miles an hour that time, getting off into turn 3 with that little bit of a shove.
Yeah, we're about 3-4 miles an hour faster now than we were this afternoon.
Hamlin is still in the middle, and it's 3 wide from there on back. There are still 20-plus cars that can win the Daytona 500 with 30 laps to go.
I like it. It's like a heat race, man.
You can hear Hamlin. He actually got out of the throttle right there just a little bit because he had such a run up on Kurt Busch in that 2 car.
Yeah, he's just got nowhere to go. Stuck. Not going to sing my song again either.
Casey Kane on the inside by himself. Now Bobby Labonte slices down.
Oops.
And Vickers and Kyle Busch.
Oops. Boy, Busch put the block on Brian Vickers in that 83.
Vickers had a heck of a run. Now look at the 11 car. Hamlin's trying it up on the high side.
Well, that's high, wide, and handsome, isn't it?
Woo! He says, I can't make it through the middle. Let me try the outside. Larry, I may have been wrong about that 82 car. He's holding his own. He's hanging in there pretty good.
He's not moving that off the bottom, and you've always said that yellow line's your best friend.
That's your best friend, man. If you got a car to hang down there, hang it. The hard part about running that bottom is, especially off turn 2, the car wants to get to pushing with you, and that's when you get in trouble.
But yeah, as long as he hugs that yellow line like you see him doing right there, and as long as they're 2 by 2, it's going to be hard for that group behind him to get by him.
Yeah, but coming off 2 is the tough part when you run right on the bottom like that. Just think back to Allmendinger. That's what happened to him. He was down on the bottom, car pushed a little bit, got the wiggling, he spun it.
Dale Jr. in the middle with Montoya, trying to make some racing room, but backing up a little bit. And Casey Kane finds himself back in 21st now. Right the middle.
Oh man! Wow! Right into his teammate.
But you could just see the back of that car being sucked around, and he was just having to correct it each way.
But that was a big hit. He's got a lot of damage on the right side of that car, and that kills these cars.
26 laps to go at the stripe. And Scott Speed hanging tough with Greg Biffle for the lead.
9 car's got a good bit of damage. I think he's probably going to get some body rub, get a little tire smoke here.
Now we see Harvick stuck in the middle. He actually just made a 3rd row in the middle with hopes that McMurray was going to go with him in that 1 car.
Well, what Kevin's got to do is he needs something to happen here for him, because he knows he's got the fastest car, but there's nowhere to go, and this is not the way you want to be going now.
And everybody else knows it. They stream on by him except for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Whatever you do, don't get in the middle. I mean, we saw that with the 11 car. He had to go all the way to the back and regroup, worked his way back up.
Tell you what, we better keep a close watch on that 18 car Kyle Busch, because he is a man on a mission. We're riding with him right here as he's cracked the top 10.
Yesterday in the nationwide race, Larry, he slammed the wall early in the race. They patched the old car up and he was going for the win. Spun out on the last lap going in the 3rd turn, but he'll hang it out. We know that.
So far in the outside lane, those Roush Fords have not broken formation. Biffle, Edwards, Reagan. While the inside lane, there's been all kinds of wheeling and dealing. Krista.
This is the part of the race Carl Edwards has been thinking about for the last 2 weeks. Says forget about the chess game. It's a poker game to him. You have to weigh all of the possibilities. You have to think further ahead at this racetrack than any other track in NASCAR.
It really did, Kristen. What happened? You got to start thinking about your move on the back straightaway when you're going in the 1st turn. Where am I going to be when I come out onto the back?
Scott Speed leads this race with a contrary strategy to everybody else in the field. He did not stop when the rest of the leaders came in. But Larry, with 10 or so laps to go, he might have to stop.
Yeah, you know, we ran 13 cautions since he basically made his pit stop. So that has bought him another 6 laps. But that still, it's just well outside the window of what anybody told me that they could run on fuel. We just have to see.
Yeah, I think what they were depending on, Larry, was some cautions, maybe, you know, before the race was over with. Right now, everybody's driving pretty sanitary, really. They're a little aggressive, but nobody's doing anything dumb yet.
All right, the Roush Fenway trio has been broken up. David Reagan in the number 6 got caught in the middle. Somebody got underneath him, and you see him back about 11th spot.
Because of the cooler temperatures, the handling's not going to go away on these cars like we saw it do earlier in the day. So they're going to stay hooked up a lot better and a lot longer.
Carl Edwards gives Greg Biffle a bump to push him ahead of Scott Speed entering 3.
That's passing gear. He just gave him a little passing gear.
Well, you could see what it did to the miles per hour. It shot it up about 3 or 4 miles per hour.
These guys are all over this racetrack, right up next to the wall, right down on the apron.
Scott Speed, another open wheel driver, coming to NASCAR after a stint in Formula One.
And you wondered why nobody left, and you wonder why people probably at home are still watching. It's because of this action we're seeing right here. Whoa, look out there, Junebug.
I think it's Robbie Gordon.
Washed up the hill with him, had to get out of the throttle.
And that just killed the momentum of that 7 car as well.
Boy, Kevin Harvick has found himself in bad, and he can't get anybody to go with him.
If you see the 00, got a quick hold. Sickle fill that, coming outside here.
Great job by the spotter. Just keeps him so informed.
21 laps to go.
You know, Krista was talking about this as a part of the race that Carl Edwards has been thinking about. When I look at a lot of the guys up in the top 5, this is the part of the race they've been thinking about their entire racing career, winning at Daytona.
Here comes Boyer to the inside of Carl Edwards. Edwards hanging tough as Greg Biffle's wingman.
That 24 car, he's creeping to the front.
20 laps to go in the Great American Race. $18 laps to go as Sprint brings you an inside look at what's happening now in the Sprint Cup Series. 46.09, fastest lap of the day. Matt Kenseth said it. For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, and live race radio, Check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed.
46.09, Larry. What's that? It's about 195, isn't it?
If not more, because what you got to remember, 45 flat is 200 miles per hour, so that's cooking on along right there.
Scott Speed of Manteca, California. He has raced internationally and finds himself, after one season in NASCAR, in the lead of the Daytona 500.
He's just trying to make me and Larry look like we don't know what we're talking about. But this thing ain't over with yet. The longer he goes, the worse his car probably will get on tires.
47 lead changes today. That's the most in any Daytona 500 in the last 30 years.
Well, it's been a whale of a race. It's just unfortunate for the interruptions, but when we're racing, we're doing some serious racing.
And those lead changes are only monitored at the start finish.
Jimmy Johnson.
Whoa, he's got a tire down. He's got a tire down. He was trying to get on pit road. He couldn't get it woed up.
Couple more.
He hangs on to it.
It's broke. I don't know if I got a flat or what.
You got a flat, dude.
Yeah, the way it looks right there, and he's got to get around 2.5 miles to get back to pit road.
That could have,
they're saying.
That could have been big.
There, nothing else.
16 laps to go. Johnson will not win the Daytona 500 as the field heads for turn 3.
Yeah, we stay green. I believe they've kicked Scott Speed at 82 in the middle now. He's going to have his hands full there.
You know, Larry, we've seen whoever can get out front has been able to stay out there for a little while. But when you get back here in traffic, that's where those 4 tires would have really been a help.
Now, the Roush Fenway twosome, Darrell, have been broken up. Greg Biffle no longer has Carl Edwards as his wingman. He's got Clint Boyer right up his bumper. Steve.
Mike, just listening to Jimmy Johnson on the radio. I don't know if he hit that hole, but he said that hole is back and it's huge, and it's a rear tire that has gone flat on the 48.
That hole would be huge to him, Steve, because he's got a problem.
Edwards lines up Boyer. Boyer goes for the lead. Clint Boyer to the inside.
And I mean, that was pretty much a power move right there.
Denny Hamlin up to 4th.
Come on now.
Truex 5th. Kurt
Who was
Busch,
that?
Jamie McMurray, and
Mike
Jeff
Dillon.
Gordon.
Mike Dillon, there you go.
Mike Dillon, Clint Spotter. But you know, you mentioned Kurt Busch in that 2 car. Ever since those guys kind of got off sequence about mid-race, they have not even been in the picture. And here he comes fighting to get back in the top 5.
Well, that 16 car, he was fast in his qualifying race. He just happened to get messed up on the restart. But he's showing right now he's got a car that it's got the potential here to win this thing.
So now that Biffle and Edwards are hooked up together, can the 2 Fords slip past Boyer's Chevrolet?
Denny Hamlin in the 11th, with and without help. He keeps going all the way to the top of the racetrack down in the middle of the corner, especially down in turn 3 and 4.
Well, remember, he got hung in the middle, and he went way back, and he squeezed in front of somebody back in there about 15th place. He got up on that high side, and he's been motoring back to the front.
And that's been tough to do. Kevin Harvick's been unable to break back into the top 10. Same for Kyle Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane. Nowhere to go.
The equalizer is going to be these last few laps. Some of these cars are really good on fresh tires. Some of these cars really run good for a while. I think the big deal is going to be, though, here with about 8-10 laps to go, the cars that handle the best will be back at the front.
A little bit of breakaway now for Boyer and Biffle. Kurt Busch is the new 3rd place car.
Boy, and here comes Jamie McMurray. Talking about side drafting.
In the number 1, McMurray down on the inside. And Harvick looking to go anywhere they'll let him.
Harvick's
29.
Harvick is bad fast. We know that. He's just looking for openings.
Now they're going to trap Carl Edwards in that 99 car in the middle. He doesn't have a lot of help. Montoya jumps up behind him, so Edwards is able to squeeze in behind the 29.
Harvick made a similar move in the nationwide race yesterday, dropping to the bottom and pulling the slingshot. Here he goes again, drafts off McMurray, gets a little side draft, goes up to the outside.
That car is crazy fast.
But Darrell, he's able to do that, but a lot because of those 4 fresh tires. You can maneuver the race car.
He is jumping from one side to the other. And he is coming, baby.
11 laps to go. Defending Sprint Cup champion Jimmy Johnson has gone to the garage. In the last 4 years, he's finished no better here than 27th.
Remember what you said 2 laps ago? Harvick couldn't go anywhere. He's trapped back outside the top 10.
Well, that was then.
Look at it. Look where he is now.
He's in the top 5 now.
Mr. Where the heck did he come from? Kevin Harvick has busted his way to the top 5.
Yeah, I don't
count him out.
I don't think it's not going to be a surprise today if he gets up there, because he's just been that good.
Carl Edwards, meanwhile, in the 99 has been shuffled back outside the top 10.
Speaking of shuffled, Scott Speed has been shuffled all the way back to 29th position after that happened about 3 or 4 laps ago.
Remember, we saw Elliott Sadler pull that same thing. He was up in the front. They didn't get tires.
10 laps to go.
I think we're gonna make it one more time.
A 7-car breakaway at the front of the field. Boyer, Biffle, Busch, Hamlin, Harvick, Truex, McMurray.
The guys that amaze me here, and Kurt Busch is one of them. When he's always at the end of the race, you find him somewhere near the top 3 or 4. Harvick's the other one. And Truex, what a great run for Martin Truex Jr. in that 56 car.
Here's Dale Jr. trying to get back into the top 15 behind Carl Edwards.
Whoa, what was that? That was crazy.
Look at McMurray in that 1 car, jumped behind Martin Truex Jr. in the 56, trying to make the power move past Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick.
From Denny Hamlin, getting a push from Kevin Harvick. Hamlin up the hill a little bit.
Boy, Hamlin's car is not handling all that great.
And that 7-car breakaway is no more. Here comes Montoya in the 42, Kyle Busch, and Jeff Gordon in the 24.
You know, when you look at our top 15 right now, we had spoke earlier, only 8 drivers have won this race more than 1 time. We only have 2 drivers in the top 15 that's won this 500, Harvick and Jeff Gordon.
Down to the garage, Dick Berggren.
With Jimmy Johnson, what broke?
Something in the rear end. I'm not sure if the left hub or the locker axle, something. I have 1 tire that's driving it. It's quite a handful with only the right rear tire pulling, but it's unfortunate. We had some issues through the day, and I think that pothole caught us early and damaged the tire. But we still had a great race car and was right there in the thick of it and had a shot at winning this thing.
He's not had good Daytona 500 several years in a row, but he wins the championship anyway.
Johnson will finish 34th today. Has 3 cars edge in front of the field. 1 Chevy, 1 Ford, and 1 Dodge.
Yeah, we've got all 4 makes represented in the top 4 right now.
We're going to have 2 teammates here before long.
Nobody breaks away very far or very long.
The first 5 cars in your tracks.
I think you're looking at the 5 guys right there in the front right now. Somebody's going to have to jump out of line, go to the outside to make something happen. Otherwise, you're stuck.
7 laps to go. A fellow who knows how to do that is right there, Kevin Harvick. That's how he won the Daytona 500. Came from deep in the field with 2 laps to go, and on the last lap made his move.
Trying to root Kurt Busch up off the bottom.
Wreck. Big wreck.
3 cars around in the middle of the back straightaway. Ryan Newman is in it. Through the grass goes the 37, excuse me, Travis Kvapil. Newman's car destroyed.
That's the army of none right there. None left.
And there is Travis Kvapil. Looks like he'll get back to pit road without a whole lot of damage.
I think they just get a little bit wadded up back in there. Boy, it was a hard lick.
That was a hard lick
for the 39 car.
Somebody turned.
Elliott Sadler got loose.
Yeah, he got loose, and here they all come and just piled in.
The 19 of Elliott Sadler.
Look at that 39 car. Those splitters, they're like snow plows.
Wow, Bill Elliott just missed Kvapil.
What a miss.
Top of your screen.
Yeah, you see Sadler, he just gets loose as Newman's going by, and he clips Newman in the right rear and just turns him straight into the fence.
I know Ryan Newman won this race a couple of years ago, and we're getting a report Newman's out of his car. Everybody's out of their cars. But I'm telling you, other than that win in the Daytona 500, restrictor plate racing has been hard on Ryan Newman.
Not good to him. I still have visions of him flipping over down the front straightaway here a 3 years ago. Talladega flipping over.
There's Ryan Newman in the black suit, making the walk to the ambulance for the mandatory ride to the care center.
But Larry, I know we're Daytona, we're not Talladega, but I haven't seen any of these race cars look like they want to get up in the air.
No, I think, you know, Jeff Hammond talked about it earlier, you know, the extension of that shark fin down the back window and making that one on the window taller. It increased the liftoff speed by 8 to 10 miles an hour, which is a good thing.
Yep. Oh, me, now what?
Well, it's at least the 7th caution flag of the day. Bit of debris there.
Think we're going to get inside that green-white checkered window?
It's possible, Darrell. 6 laps to go right now. It's going to take him a few minutes to remove Ryan Newman's car. Now, the 37 of Quapple was able to make a pit stop and continue. And he is still, I believe, on the lead lap. We'll double check that.
We're going to see some takers here because these guys have got 25 laps on their tires. It's almost like Kurt Busch came and then everyone from about maybe 12th or 13th back came, Krista.
Jeff Gordon, they had said they were going to do what everyone else did not do. They're coming in for 2 tires. Matt.
And Chris, that's exactly the same plan for Kurt Busch in the 2. Remember, 3 different times he has finished second in the Great American Race. They're going 4 tires on the Blue Deuce.
I felt like with 25 laps on some tires, I may be a little surprised at that 2 car. We're going to have less than 5 laps to go. We're only going to have about 3 laps to go, but I wasn't surprised all those guys at the back came.
Here's the beautiful thing right now for the 33 and the 29. If Boyer takes the outside line on the restart, Kevin will line up right behind him. The 2 teammates will have the 16 and the 56 to their inside.
All right, looks like A.J. Allmendinger is the free pass car. And this caution was a blessing for Scott Speed. We had feared that Speed might run out of fuel before the checkered flag. He was able to make his stop and come back out. Steve?
Mike, just listening to Kevin Harvick on the radio, he said, I cannot run the top. I'm going to get to the bottom as quick as I can.
We'll see if that's a winning strategy for the 4th place car.
Well, that's not a good. Then that makes me wonder what they will do, because if he can't run the top and he's got to restart 4th, does Boyer want to get out there and help him, or does he want to take a chance with someone else?
Nobody's better at, excuse me, pardon me, I'm coming in this line, than Kevin Harvick.
It's pretty good, and he got a fast car, so we'll see what he does here. I think the teammates will work together.
Our top 12 cars, we still have about 30-something cars, 31, 32 cars on the lead lap. Our top 12 cars stayed out, so that's good friends for Clint Boyer in that group at the front.
And just to defend you and I talking about Scott Speed, he stayed up there very well until he got to rolling back through the field, and then all of a sudden he was back in 29 spots. So when we make calls, we make them looking at the big picture sometimes, not just a short run.
We don't say there's bad calls. We say this could be the consequences.
Yes.
The DirecTV blimp has a look down at the leaders of the Daytona 500 with 4 laps to go.
1 to go. We're on 1 to go, boys.
Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. It'll change your life. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Jeff?
Guys, the one thing that might kind of be influencing some of this strategy would be this new rule as far as how many multiple green-white checkers we could get into. Fresher tires, if we get multiple restarts, will benefit the guys, I think, that came to pit road. And also, a year ago when we didn't have this double file restart shootout style, a lot of these guys have been a lot further back than what they are right now.
Well, I think you're seeing what I thought might happen. The 33 and the 29 are going to work together. Let's see what he has to say.
Dylan, we're just going to have to block both lines as best we can. We got the fastest car here.
Yeah, 10-4.
It's Clint Boyer to his spotter, Mike Dillon. Matt?
Mike, right up until they got the 1 to go, Boyer was still debating about which line to restart in. And basically he says, look, Richard Childress told him, as soon as Harvick can get to the bottom, he's going to get to the bottom. So you need to try to make your move as soon as you can to the bottom as well.
Teammates on the outside in Chevrolets. Greg Biffle's forward on the inside.
I think it's going to work out just fine. I think what's going to happen is Boyer is going to get the good restart, and he's going to be able to probably move to either side, whichever way he wants to go. The thing that's going to help the 29 car is Kurt Busch, or Kyle Busch right behind the 29 is going to be able to give him some pretty good push, I think.
You're riding with Martin Truex, who's told his team he has a vibration. This will not be a green-white checker restart. We're going to restart with 3 laps to go. NASCAR's controlling rule: if the leader takes the white flag under green, that's the race. Whatever happens after that ends the race. Caution or checker. Debris. We're not going to go.
I just might say that thinking that we're not going to get a green-white checker maybe more than once is pretty optimistic. Based on that, we're coming down to the end of the race.
So they put up 1 to go once more. So it will be a 2-lap shootout.
Pat Tryson's a little worried because Truex is calling in and saying, I got a vibration, and that could be a tire.
But I saw a little pump of the fist like, yes, that means 1 less lap we'll have to run here.
Right.
Boris Said and Travis Kvapil pit. That may be the debris right there that NASCAR's. No, that's just a piece of tape there.
I think it was actually down in 3 and 4. I thought I saw something laying on the bottom of the racetrack down there.
1 piece high, 1 low. There's a look at it.
Should be able to get that up before the cars get back around here.
That looked like, yeah, it was a wing end plate.
Yeah, Travis Kvapil had been black flagged because he was missing one of the end plates off the wing, and I think we just found it.
Well, the Vice tightens. It'll be 2 laps to go, and there are still 32 cars within sight of the leader with a chance to win the 500.
Been waiting all day long for this, for the final few laps of the Daytona 500.
Been waiting all winter long for this.
Yeah.
I see that 3rd Richard Childress car there, the 4th car in line on the outside. Yep. Jeff Burton in that 31. Then you've got teammates side by side in row 3, Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin in the Toyotas.
That's the best Burton's been all day. I mean, he's been back in the 15th spot most all day. Here he is now late in the race with a shot. We know those cars are, all those Childress cars are fast. Hamlin's car is not handling real good. It's kind of evil, so I don't know about going on the outside of him.
Jeff Burton trying to join his brother Ward as a Daytona 500 champion. Now, the statistics do not favor Clint Bowyer. He led lap 100, the halfway lap. It's been a long time since the halfway lap leader won the 500.
Whatever Bowyer does, I promise you, it will be spectacular. Whatever it is, I don't know what it's going to be, but
remember, Harvick in the 29 says he needs to get to the bottom. Biffle in the 16 will try to eke out a lead. He cannot beat Bowyer to the green flag. Clint Bowyer is the leader. 2 laps to go in the Daytona 500.
Here we go.
Green flag.
It's all on the line, boys.
If Harvick got a decent restart.
Harvick wants so badly to clear that 16 car and drop to the bottom. That would be what would work for him.
Still there. You're clear, you're clear, you're clear.
Now, see, the 33 has the option. Do I stay in the high line? Do I stay in the low line? He can work both sides of this deal and go with the car that's coming the fastest.
Well, he jumped back up in front of his teammate. But here comes that inside line.
Boy, that was a team player right there to jump out there and help Harvick like that.
He's going to have about 1 more chance.
And you
as
see
Greg Biffle takes the lead, and Bill Elliott gets piled up in turn number 4 with, I believe, Joey Logano.
Caution's out.
The caution's out. The leader has not taken the white flag, so we will go into overtime.
Imagine that.
There were 3 cars involved up there at turn 4. Elliott and Logano couldn't see the 3rd car through the smoke. Let's see it as it'll come in, Darrell, from the right side of the screen. A lot of damage to Joey Logano and Bill Elliott.
Just a lot of cars back in here, a whole gaggle of them. Bill looks like he just took, almost like Bill had a flat tire. He just washed up the hill right into Logano, and here comes Boris Said, who's been kind of riding around at the back, staying out of trouble all day until the last lap.
But definitely Elliott's car, the 21, just
it looked like, yeah, it looked
four-wheel
like,
drift almost.
It looks like maybe he got, see how it takes off back there? It looks like he's got a tire down to me.
So the 1985 and 87 Daytona 500 winner in the 21, Bill Elliott.
Joey Logano is just a victim of being in the wrong place. Oh, yeah. I thought I could see the right front a little soft on Bill's car. I'm not sure.
And I think Joey could see it happening because you could hear him starting to get out of the throttle, but too little too late.
Here's the reaction from Greg Biffle's pit. Not what they wanted.
Well, again, what they would have loved to have seen is Biffle come under the flag stand, you know, taking the white flag, and then it would be an official race.
Oh, me. I'm going to have an official heart attack because.
So the Wood brothers going to try to get Bill Elliott out there to finish the race. Running a partial schedule this season.
That's a shame.
They concentrated everything on this race. Time trial in the top 5.
Yep.
Now have a bent up race car, but they will finish the race along with Joey Logano.
See why. Well,
you know, on behalf of race fans everywhere, our thanks to our NASCAR on Fox crew and to NASCAR and all the Hardy fans here, but the fellows who man the cameras up on the roof and around the racetrack, in the pits, and all of our technical staff. Their day began at 6:30 this morning to try to bring you the Great American Race as we go into the evening. Trying to bring you a green flag finish.
Yeah, we started out this morning in overcoats, got into our shorts about 1 o'clock when race started. Back to the overcoats.
From overcoats to overdrive.
I think it's been worth it, though. I mean, you know, these guys have put on a great show today. Sure, it's been interrupted a time or two, but look at all these people. I have not. I've been watching the exits. Not seen anybody leaving.
They might be lined up in the aisles toward the exit, but they're not leaving till the flag falls.
And look at all these people over here in the suites next to us. They're all up on the edge of their seat. Some of them not even sitting down.
So we'll try it again. 2 laps to go under NASCAR rules. Green flag, then white flag, then the checker. If the race leader takes the white flag while the green is out, whatever flag flies next ends the race. Checkers or wreckers.
And I'd say there's a lot of attitudes out there that has that attitude.
9 Daytona 500s out of 51 have been decided by a last lap pass.
Well, I just think about the last 3 years. It's been almost unbelievable. Whether it was Kevin Harvick or Ryan Newman or Matt Kenseth, the last 3 years, they've just pretty much come out of nowhere.
This time, Boyer and Harvick will start side by side, and it'll be the 56 of Martin Truex alongside Greg Biffle for the restart. Dick.
Truex just asked his crew if he's okay on fuel. Crew chief Trayson said, right now you are. Steve.
And a deal has been cut between the 29 and the 1. Billy O'Day, Kevin Harvick's spotter, just went to Keith Barnwell, the spotter on the 1. The Harvick's going to try to get help from Jamie McMurray from behind.
They are not teammates, Steve. However, both their engines come out of the same shop.
It's so hard to make a deal with the way these cars drive and the way they bounce around. And you can do all the deal making you want, but you're looking at a pack of cars. There's 30 on the lead lap. I guarantee you 20 to 25 of them still believe I can win this Daytona 500.
Well, one of the most unselfish things I think I've seen in a while was Clint Boyer going down the back, had his choice of lanes. Biffle's coming hard on the inside. Boyer jumped to the outside to pick up his teammate Kevin Harvick. That is a teammate.
A Ford on the point. Ford went to victory lane last year, Matt Kenseth. Toyota on the outside. Toyota has never won the Daytona 500. As we're in overdrive, green, white, and we hope checker.
I don't believe it. I believe that 16 car is in the catbird seat. It's going to be hard for somebody to get around him unless Harvick and Boyer and maybe McMurray, because you know McMurray is almost like a teammate to those guys. He's got the Earnhardt Childress engines under the hood, so they're going to try to work together, but they're going to have to work hard to get by that 16.
If Greg Biffle can hang the bottom, stay near the yellow line, and if somebody will come up behind to help draft with him, he can win the Daytona 500. He's got a lot of fellows trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
Now, I'm sure that Pat Tryson's down there saying, wait a minute, fellas. You know, I didn't just luck into this position. I've been here all afternoon. Don't count me out either.
Exactly, and he's one of the cars that changed 4 tires the last time they were on pit road back on lap 164.
But behind Truex, the next Toyota is Denny Hamlin, number 11. who right now is in the wrong lane to help Truex. He's on the inside with Kyle Busch behind him.
I think it's, I don't think so much manufacturers as it is teammates. And I think that's the only thing Biffle's got to worry about is the teammates.
Biffle's last win, September 2008, Dover, Delaware. Pace car is in, green flag, green white checker. Here we go.
Oh boy, that 56 got a great restart.
And he's got Harvick pushing him when he took the green flag.
He's got Harv all up behind him.
Harvick trying for the bottom. Made it!
He tried to put the block on him, but Harvick was there.
That's what he
wanted. Wham, bam, and here we go.
Here we go, boys.
That's why Harvick had to get to the bottom. His car is junk on the top.
Look at McMurray in that one, jumped to the bottom.
Oh, I got another wreck. Dadgum.
Casey Kane.
Caution is out. So we'll try
Casey
it again.
Kane in the 9, Robert Richardson in the 38.
Now I want to know who the visionary was that said we better try this 3 times, because once ain't going to be enough. But if these folks are going to stay here all day and wait on the finish, they deserve a green flag finish.
Everybody deserves it.
Now here's the restart. Watch Mr. Harvick. Pardon me, excuse me, coming through, out of my way.
Yep, muscle, man. He like he said, I've got to get to the bottom. I'm not good at the top, and we saw that on that last restart. He squeezes in front of Biffle. Truex says, no, you can't go there, and that was not a good move.
When Truex came down in front of him and got squirreled up, it took all his momentum. Here comes McMurray and everybody else.
And look at these guys wearing each other out behind Biffle because he lost his momentum.
But yeah, the door was open just wide enough for that one car to jump back in.
Middle of your screen, the 9 of Casey Kane.
Boy, Jeff Gordon, well, it just got bottlenecked in there. Jeff gave Casey Kane in the 9 car, a little bump, shot him into Mark Martin in the 5, and then they rebounded from there.
Now, because of this overdrive, this green-white checkered another attempt, we're being told that Martin Truex Jr. is being told to save fuel.
Okay. I'm sitting up here in the front of the field. What do you want me to do?
Under caution.
What do you want me to do?
Darrell, the way that accordioned, Mark Martin in the 5 got hard on the brakes. When Casey Kane hit him, it squirreled him up. And then Jeff Gordon got in the back.
Here's what happened, Mike. Jeff Gordon bumped the 9 in the middle of the corner there, shot him up to Mark Martin, and when he uncoiled off of Mark, he got hit. You'll see Jeff Gordon, I believe, come up here, bump the 9, shoot him into the 5. Boom, right there. That shoots him into Mark, and when it did, it just got him out of control.
Because when he came off Mark Martin, the second contact from Gordon, Kane wasn't pointing straight anymore.
No.
Agree.
But that was right down in the middle of the corner when he did that.
Oh yeah, not a good place to be bump drafting, I might say.
From Martin Truex, Harvick makes the move. Truex tried to come down and block, couldn't do it.
Nope. And you see how squirrely everybody is here because of all that. You know, I think it was Jeff Gordon that gave who was it, a shot at the last lap of the
at the Budweiser shootout.
Greg Biffle.
And I've got to say this. Back at Talladega, Jeff Gordon was the one that went to NASCAR and said, you've got to stop the bump drafting.
In the corners particularly.
I know we're coming down to the checkered flag for the Daytona 500, but he's the very one that did that.
But in this case, Jeff Gordon never would have gotten the back of the Casey Kane if the whole field hadn't stacked up in front of Casey.
Good chance, but Darrell's right. You know, we saw him do it in the Budweiser shootout. We just saw it again.
Can't bump draft in the corners. I mean, and I'm not saying he was trying to bump draft necessarily, but he gave the 9 a shot.
Kevin Harvick has the lead. Steve?
Mike, when the caution came out, Kevin Spotter, Billy O'Day, we've mentioned him several times now, said, Kevin, that was a hell of a move going into turn 1. I couldn't help you there. Kevin said, this is the Daytona 500. I was going left.
This is what we talked about yesterday on Speed. It's going to take a driver who is willing to do whatever it takes to win the 500. Kevin Harvick is that kind of driver.
Well, here's some pictures of whatever it takes right here. You get into the 56, get him a little squirrely. You drop down in front of the 16. 56, Martin Truex says, not today, buddy. Kevin Harvick says, oh, yeah.
Not today, tonight.
It's my day.
I'm telling you, Biffle was pretty darn sideways in that 16 car.
You know, Biffle came up and almost took Tony Stewart with him.
He did.
I mean, Casey Kane went up.
But I do agree with what you said, Mike. It looked like the bump draft there, even though that replay was a part of the accordion deal.
And it is the end of the race.
It is the end of the Daytona 500.
Exactly.
1 lap to green. And now?
We're not saying that Jeff Gordon did anything wrong. We're just saying.
We're just saying. That's what the new saying is.
Now, is Kevin Harvick right where he wants to be, or is he in trouble?
He's got the 99 behind him. Hadn't seen a lot of speed out of that 99 today. Early maybe, but not lately. We'll just have to see.
And that could be a problem if McMurray and Biffle hook up, because Harvick's going to need some help.
I think what'll happen, though, I believe Harvick's car is so good on the bottom that he'll get a nice restart. When they start down the back, he'll go inside, outside, kind of work whichever way the cars are coming from. He's going to be hard to pass.
I'm going to tell you what, though, that little cat there in the outside in that one car, he has been wheeling that one car ever since they unloaded a week and a half ago. He won the last restrictor plate race we had at Talladega. He won here a couple of years ago in the July race. And I'd say he wants to win this Daytona 500 pretty bad, Jamie McMurray.
It's got to be kind of, you know, Martin Truex is sitting there in 6th place, and that's his old car right there. I know as a driver, you look up there and you say, man, that's my old car. I got to get around him some way.
And Mike, you pointed it out. That's Earnhardt Childress engine side by side right there on that front row.
2007 here. Kevin Harvick beat Mark Martin to the flag by just that much as cars were crashing and flipping behind him. Here's a look at what happened here 3 years ago on the final lap. That's Mark Martin in the 01, Harvick in the 29 with a full head of steam. And here they come off turn 4.
And if they had frozen the field right there, Kevin still would have won because he was ahead of Mark when the car started to spin. But now they run on down here, finish the race. Looks like days of thunder.
That's Clint Boyer upside down across the line. And that race in 2007 is the last time Clint Boyer has been to, or Kevin Harvick has been to victory lane in a Sprint Cup points race.
Man's had a heck of a week down here, I can tell you, with his nationwide car. Tony winning yesterday, Stewart winning the Budweiser shootout.
So again, we'll try it in overdrive. Green-white checker. This time Harvick and McMurray in front of teammates Edwards and Biffle. Then Burton, Truex, Montoya, and Boyer. Green-white checker. Here we go. Green flag.
Pretty much a dead heat. It looks like Kevin got a little bit of a jump on the 29, got a little jump on the 1 car, and there's dad-to-be Carl Edwards right in the back of the 29, pushing hard as he can. And here we go up to back, 2 by 2, except the cat out front.
But look at the run. McMurray will get down that back straightaway, getting bumped from Greg Biffle in the 16 car. Biffle's all over the back of it. Edwards looks in the middle.
Whoa, I think
that'll hurt Harvick.
If I'd have been Harvick, I'd have gone to the outside and gone with that fast line.
Here comes Truex fighting his way back on the outside in that 56, but not a lot of help out there.
3 wide. Here comes Dale Jr. pushing Clint Boyer.
Where'd Junebug come from?
This will be the white flag. Jamie McMurray is in front to try to win the 500. This will be the last lap.
Whatever happens now happens, folks. They can all wad up down here, and somebody's going to leave out that second turn, the winner.
Junior on the bottom with Boyer. Biffle ahead.
Truex trying to get up there and help McMurray, but Boyer's right there behind Biffle in the 16. There goes Boyer to the outside.
Look at Junior. Come on, Junior. Come on.
Can they make it to the flag?
Nah, no way. They'll never get through this third turn.
Junior got squirreled up right there.
No, it's just perfect. He's flying through there.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. unbelievably has caught Jamie McMurray as they come to turn 4.
He'll have to go to the high side, though. McMurray will guard that line.
Crash at the back, never mind. Green flag still out. Checkered flag in the air. The 52nd Daytona 500 to Jamie McMurray.
Yes! Little Jamie, baby.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Yes, sir. Billy Bass.
How about that? Jamie McMurray, Teresa Earnhardt, Chip Ganassi, Felix Sabates winning the Daytona 500.
And don't forget Bono.
Oh, my God!
The cars that crashed.
That was so awesome.
The cars that crashed at the back were Robbie Gordon, I believe, and Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, Jeff got loose in the middle of that pack.
And you know what? We've said it many times. When you win the Daytona 500, it doesn't stay with you the rest of the season, the rest of your career. It stays with you the rest of your life.
Hey, this little cat's become a pretty good restrictor plate racer. And look at all the guys. You know, Jamie's a guy, everybody likes Jamie. He's a good kid.
When Roush Fenway Racing had to downsize due to NASCAR rules from 5 teams to 4, it was McMurray left on the outside looking in. He hooked up with Earnhardt Ganassi Racing and is Chip Ganassi's first Daytona 500 triumph, as well as the young driver from Joplin, Missouri, Jamie McMurray.
But boys, I got to tell you, you got to tip your hat to Dale Jr.
Wow.
He has not even been anywhere near the lead.
10th to 2nd in less than 2 laps.
He looked like daddy coming through there. Nice job, Jamie. Nice job, buddy. Blow it up. Just burn her down right there.
Jamie Mack becomes the 34th driver to win the Daytona 500. It is his 4th Sprint Cup victory.
He is in the mud now.
Choked her down. Yes! There is no feeling like accomplishing something like what he just did.
Well, and honestly, very close to the season being over last year. I don't think Jamie McMurray knew what he was going to be doing, and I'm not sure that team knew what they were going to be doing.
Right on both counts, Larry. He didn't have a lot of success with Roush Fenway. Some car owners thought maybe damaged goods. Well, guess what? Jamie Mack wins the Daytona 500.
I think if it's more like goody-goody. Oh, look at that.
Here's the run to the flag. Dale Earnhardt Jr. from 10th to 2nd in a lap. Got up behind McMurray.
I guess I gotta tell you, just look back there and look at the 00.
Finished 5th. David Ruderman.
I just noticed that on the scoring monitor.
But it's like when they bottled up on the back straightaway, that gave Jamie just enough room out front to be able to win the race back to the finish line. Here's where they got bottled up about halfway down the back straightaway.
I really thought that Kevin Harvick would watch and see which line was coming and the outside was, and he would drive up there and block it.
They were trying their best. Yeah, and this is Jeff Gordon, Robbie Gordon involved.
2-car, got into the wall.
Bobby Labonte.
But you know what? This was at the back of the pack. Attaboy to NASCAR for letting them race back.
Yeah, man.
The Daytona 500.
He's saying his prayers right there, boys.
And we'll be back to Daytona after this.
You got it, man. We won. Great job, guys. I can't believe we just won the Daytona 500.
6 hours and 10 minutes after the drop of the first green flag of the day, Jamie McMurray has just captured the flag in the greatest day of his racing life. Down to victory lane and Matt Yoakum.
I'm going to get him straight. Awesome. It was awesome. Thank you so much, guys. How about that run down the back?
Every kid growing up dreams of winning the Great American Race. Does reality tonight match that dream?
I told my wife today, I was like, she's like, if you win tonight, oh, I'm going to cry. It's unreal. It's I thought if I made it without seeing my dad or my wife, I'd be okay, but it's just, it's unbelievable, really. I can't explain it. And, it's just, it's a dream. I mean, it really is, and you know, to be where I was last year, and for Johnny Morris and Chip and Felix, Bass Pro Shops, to take a chance on me and let me come back, it means a lot to me. And I just, what a way to pay them back, and to give Christy a happy Valentine's Day, and my dad's here, and it's just very emotional. But after we won Talladega, we went to McDonald's. So I think tonight we'll have a Big Mac.
You go back to that final lap. So many people are jockeying around. Walk us through your moves to victory.
Well, Biffle helped me out. I spun the tires on the restart, and you know, it's just a gamble of which line's gonna get the biggest run. But Greg gave me the unbelievable push on the backstretch. And then when I saw the 88 behind me, I thought, oh no. I'm like, it's, you know, he's had a good car, and I just, you know, Earnhardt at Daytona, it's just, I mean, they win all the time, it seems like, so you just never know what to expect. But certainly thank you to all the fans, too, that stuck around. That was tough having to get in and out of the car, but they stuck with us, and it was cool to hear the applause, and they got back in the car and sprint for everything they do. I went to one of their parties the other night, and Dan Hesse's just a great guy, and it means a lot. I mean, not only sprint, but everybody that's a part of our sport. With the economy the way it is, we couldn't be here to put this show on without with all these sponsors. So good stuff. I want to get with my team.
Congratulations, Jamie McMurray, the biggest win of his racing career.
34 different drivers have won the Daytona 500. Probably not since Pete Hamilton in 1970 has there been a first-time winner of this race that has appreciated it more than Jamie Mack.
It's okay to cry in racing. Trust me, I know. And that's a big deal to that kid, as big as anything ever happened to him. So, you know, I don't want to hear a bunch of people say, oh man, I can't believe he's in victory lane crying. That's how big this is and how emotional it is.
Well, there's not a dry eye up here either.
No, I mean,
we're so happy for him.
I'm right there with him.
He didn't need to say a word. Pretty much what we saw with his feelings pretty much said it all. But I mean, what a way to cap off Speed Weeks. We've been down here for a week and a half, and yeah, we had some trying weather, but we said it when we rolled in here about 10 or 11 days ago. Unpredictable, and I think that's as unpredictable as you can get it. Now, the last 9 Daytona 500s, 9 different winners.
That's what I was going to say, Larry. It's unpredictable because
the last 9 races. We think alike.
What a great day. All day and night.
What a fantastic finish. And Jamie McMurray wins the 500 with a push from Dale Earnhardt Jr. How did he get to second place?
Junior, 10th to second in 1 lap. Do you believe it?
Well, I'm just disappointed to come that close and not win it. But I'll tell you, we did the right thing. We come down getting 2 tires. Amp Energy National Guard Chevrolet was pretty good all day. We were just working on some handling issues. And I don't know if we got them fixed or not. You know, when it gets cold, everybody's car handles good. But I want to thank my team for working really hard. The engine shop did an awesome job. The car, like I said, worked really good. And I'm happy for Jamie and his crew chief Bono helped me when I was younger. And that's such a good group. That's a good group of guys over there. And you know, I know we run second, and we probably shouldn't have tonight, but it's frustrating to come that close and not win it. And but I'm happy for them. You know, they had a good car all week, and we did good. You know, it's good points tonight for us, even though we're probably a little too early to think about that. But you know, we got a good run.
Congratulations. Solid race tonight. Well done.
Greg Biffle came on the radio after that race and apologized to his crew. You said, I tried everything I could.
Man, I did. You know, I'll tell you what, I'm so proud of the guys and the guys of the shop, the engine department. You know, they built such good cars. They worked all winter. Hopefully California is as good as this was. But, you know, I just made a mistake. Just a lack of experience probably. Going into turn 1, I should have pushed McMurray instead of trying to make the pass then when I had the big run and try and make the pass coming to the stripe or down the back instead of down the front. And, You know, third place isn't all that bad, but I'm just so happy for Jamie. You know, I pushed him to the win down the backstretch, and I feel pretty good about that.
Thanks, Greg.
Let's check out the final results unofficial here. And by the way, for Jamie McMurray, the fewest laps ever led by a Daytona 500 winner. Just 2 laps, but good enough. And really, it was the Daytona 520, the longest race officially in Daytona 500 history, not just because of the 2 red flags and the time delay, but with the second green-white checker was actually 520 miles as we look at the way the order finished out. And Jeff Hammond, those tears of joy, what a comeback story. Uncertain about his ride, to a ride that won him the most important race, and he kind of came from nowhere. It just shows you long shots. In fact, in Vegas this week, I think he was 30-1 on the betting board for Jamie McMurray, who pulls into victory lane and beats the field and the track, surviving a marathon day-night doubleheader in Daytona.
Well, I think what it does, I think it establishes Jamie McMurray as one of the top restrictor plate racers that we have today, because again, he did win at Talladega, the final race there, and he was able to win here today in a great effort and great moves at the right place at the right time. And one thing right quick, we see Chip Ganassi, one of the owners there. He's now won an Indy 500, a 24-hour Daytona race, and the Daytona 500. Pretty impressive right there by that owner.
And Earnhardt Ganassi Racing Chevrolet team giving Jamie McMurray this opportunity. His wife Christy sharing. Jamie was on the high school wrestling team in the 119-pound class. He gave it up after his junior year. He got sick of working out. He found his passion in driving. He won his first go-kart title at the age of 10. Then he would go on to win 3 more the following few seasons. In 1991, he was a world go-karting champion. But this is living the American dream.
Well, as he said, it is a dream, and he's now kind of like captured it.
Let's check in with Chris Devoto with Clint Boyer.
Well, the bad news is Clint Boyer did not win the Daytona 500. The good news is you were not upside down and on fire, and you had a chance.
Yeah, we did have a chance. You know, I really didn't need that caution. I don't know, the second to last caution when we were out there single file. I think we had the car to beat, and I don't think there was anybody who's going to contest for that. But Cheerios, Hamburger Helper, and thank everybody on board. What an awesome Daytona 500. You know, everybody, I don't want anybody to get excited about patching that track. They'll get it fixed. I don't want them to repave this place. That's why we all love this place. That's why it puts on one hell of a show for the fans. And if we have to wait a little bit to patch her up, let's do it.
One of the heartbreak stories, Clint Boyer along with Greg Biffle and Dale Earnhardt Jr., who wound up second. But the #1 car, he's the #1 man in Daytona tonight. More coverage live from Daytona in a moment. Jamie McMurray still celebrating. High drama at the end. Only led 2 laps, but a Daytona 500 champion. Greg Biffle, you heard him talk about how he, maybe his inexperience, thought he had it won with Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer in the mix. And then it was a wreck in the 21 car. That's Bill Elliott with the oldest and youngest drivers, 19-year-old Joey Logano, 54-year-old Elliott involved. So the first green-white checker. Jeff Gordon actually causes a wreck here. As you see Kevin Harvick trying to win a second Daytona 500. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in a restart on the second green-white checker as Casey Kane is involved in the wreck. Somehow, Jeff Hammond, he made it from 10th all the way to second, winding up trying to stalk Jamie McMurray.
Well, he had his great experience right there, but he also got a good shot right there with the 0-0 of David Rubin. And right there at the start-finish line, he was definitely coming on strong and making Jamie McMurray sweat.
So in the bigger picture, after a lot of hours and a lot of racing, we mentioned 21 leaders. That's a Daytona 500 record. Right. And we had 52 lead changes, the kind of racing that we talked about that NASCAR wanted, the gloves off, bump draft, go for it. It's about winning, not just being in the top 5. And Jamie McMurray showed that he could do it.
I mean, this is the kind of racing you can expect, I think, all season long, because NASCAR let these guys do what they do best, race. I mean, the Great American Races definitely was not a bust today. If you didn't enjoy that, folks, you're not going to enjoy racing as far as NASCAR is concerned the rest of this season.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. putting some pressure on as we look ahead now to California and Las Vegas. It's a totally different deal. The restrictor plates, you talk about the gloves being off, restrictor plates are off.
But you still got guys that are hungry. I think right now today was the kind of thing and the kind of finish that Dale Earnhardt Jr. needed to get him motivated. You've already heard from Greg Biffle and a lot of these drivers, Kevin Harvick, they really felt like they had an opportunity with 1 or 2 laps to go. And this is the kind of thing that kind of like motivates not only the drivers but the teams. Makes them want to go back to the shop. They'll be back in there on Monday morning getting ready to go to California. I mean, ready to basically, again, keep the gloves off, bare knuckle get it done.
9 different winner here at the Daytona 500 in the last 9 years, Jeff. But what does it say about this sport, or at least this event, that a guy like Jamie McMurray, who, as he admitted, that's why you saw those tears, he didn't know if he'd be even working again or be with a race team this year.
You never know, and you've got to seize every moment and every opportunity. And I think right now, you got to give a lot of credit right there. There's Chip Ganassi getting ready to pop that cork on that champagne bottle. He knows how to do that. He's been to victory lane many, many times, and I'm sure that he is sitting there thinking, see, guys, I know what I'm doing as an owner. I know when to bring these guys back. He brought Juan Pablo Montoya back, made a successful driver out of him in NASCAR, and now he did it again with Jamie McMurray.
Next Sunday, NASCAR on Fox will move to Fontana, California. Matt Kenseth will try and defend his title. Remember, he won this rain-shortened Daytona 500 last year and then won out in California. He'll try and take home the checkered flag for the second straight year there. Coverage of the Auto Club 500 presented by Napa Auto Parts from the West Coast begins next Sunday. Note the start time of 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific in high definition here on Fox. Well, Mark Martin, the pole sitter, wound up 12th. Kevin Harvick, who led the most laps, finished 7th overall, and we saw exciting racing from start to finish. They hung in there despite the 2 red flags and the delays.
I mean, when you think about it, Chris, you said it. How many different leaders do we have out of this field?
21.
43, so almost, or basically half the field led this race at one time or another, and I'm telling you, it was exciting from start to finish.
And the track did not win. At the end of the line, it was Jamie McMurray. Buckle up, things could get bumpy, but excited in this, our 10th season for NASCAR on Fox, anticipating more races like we saw today. We thank you for hanging in there with us, and thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox. For Darrell, Larry, and Mike, Krista, Matt, Dick, and Steve, Jeff Hammond, and our entire production crew, enjoy President's Day. We hope to see you next Sunday here in California.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.